Once upon a time, a weird man lived in a house. Unlike all other people, every time he went to bed, he turned on the light. But one night, something unimaginable happened. The man forgot to turn the lights on. The next day, the man got up and while eating his breakfast, he read in a newspaper that the night before, 1,000 people had been taken to a hospital at once. The man was terrified. He rushed to the police and turned himself in. If you know who the man was and why he went to the police, comment below fast. Now let's compare our answers. The man was a lighthouse keeper. His job was to turn on the light at night to guide ships safely into the harbor. When he forgot to turn on the light, a few ships missed the harbor and crashed into the shore, which led to numerous injuries and a lot of damage. Now that you know more about lighthouse keepers, there is a much tougher task for you. So you find a seemingly deserted lighthouse and decide to explore it. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, 3 figures appear in front of you. You realize with a jolt that 2 of them are ghosts and only one is the real lighthouse keeper. But which one? Look at this image very attentively and then write down your answer in the comments. Take your time, your life depends on it. The real lighthouse keeper is on the right. Admittedly, that crazy look on his face is kinda weird, but it must be loneliness that has had such dramatic consequences. The guy in the middle must be a ghost since he's transparent. As for the guy on the left carrying an oil lamp, he's a ghost too. No one uses those lamps anymore. They were replaced by electricity long ago. Look at these 3 men swimming in the turbulent ocean. A lighthouse keeper also noticed them and called out, telling them to stay away from the water due to extremely dangerous high tides. Suddenly, he spotted a weird thing. Only 2 men had wet hair. Help the lighthouse keeper figure out what was wrong with the 3rd swimmer, and tell him about your solution in the comments. There's actually nothing mysterious about the 3rd man. He's just bald and doesn't have any hair that could get wet. One lighthouse keeper had been lonely for so long that at one point he lost his marbles. One day, some tourists arrived at his lighthouse to marvel at the views. The lighthouse keeper locked them all inside and made them swallow pills. Some of those pills were harmless and some were poisoned. The tourists had nothing to do but take the pills. Shockingly, all of them ended up in a hospital, even though they took different pills. Now don't let the evil keeper avoid punishment. Let us know down below what trick he used to poison all the tourists. The poison was in the water the lighthouse keeper gave the tourists to help them swallow the pills. Sneak a peek inside this lighthouse, and a bizarre sight will greet you. In the middle of the night, a woman is sitting on her bed with no lights on. She doesn't even have an oil lamp or candle burning, and still she's reading. Is the woman a witch that can see in the dark? Or do you have another idea? Then share it in the comments. There's no magic involved here. The woman is reading Braille, and she's blind. On a remote island, there was an abandoned lighthouse. It was believed to be haunted. On a stormy night, a sailor named Jack was shipwrecked on the island. The man decided to seek refuge in the lighthouse. Inside, Jack found 3 lanterns, red, green, and blue. Beside them, he saw an inscription that read, "Choose your light wisely, for one leads to escape, one to eternal darkness, and one to the island's restless spirits." Which lantern should the guy pick if the only clue he got was to think about the traffic light signals? Join the rescue operation and write your choice down in the comments. Jack should choose the green lantern. Red signals indicate danger, symbolizing eternal darkness. Blue signals indicate caution and warning, possibly pointing to restless spirits. And green signals indicate safety and movement forward. That's the lantern that can help Jack escape from the haunted island. A powerful wizard who lived in a magic lighthouse had an assistant called Martin. Once, the wizard asked Martin to visit a potion maker and pick up 3 potions he had ordered. Martin received the parcel, but on his way back, he got into a real trap. In front of him, there was 3 doors, and he couldn't get past them. But behind the first door, there was a bottomless abyss. Behind the second door, there were venomous spiders. Even their webs were poisonous. And the third door was hiding a raging fire. Martin couldn't choose the door, so he decided to use one of the potions the potion maker had given him. But what should he opt for? The potion of invisibility, the potion of speed, or the potion of forgetfulness? Help Martin choose in the comments below. Martin's best option is to drink the potion of speed and dash through the fire so that it doesn't have time to really hurt him. An evil wizard holds you prisoner in an abandoned lighthouse, but offers you a chance to escape. There are 3 doors, A, B, and C. 2 of the doors lead to freedom, and the third door leads to lifetime imprisonment. You're allowed to point at a random door and ask the wizard a yes or no question. If you point at a door that leads to freedom, the wizard will answer your question truthfully. But if it's the door that leads to imprisonment, the wizard will answer your question randomly. If you know a way to save your life, make sure to write it down in the comments below. What if it helps someone escape one day? Point at door A and ask, does door B lead to freedom? If the wizard answers yes, then pick door B. If the wizard answers no, then pick door C. This strategy will work regardless of where door A leads. Let's say door A leads to freedom. Then the wizard will answer truthfully. That's why if the wizard answers yes, you should pick door B. And if he answers no, you should pick door C. But what if door A leads to imprisonment and the wizard answers randomly? Well, it's even easier. If door A leads to imprisonment, the other 2 doors, B and C, must lead to freedom, and you can pick any door. You don't actually need to worry where door A leads. Just pick door B when the wizard answers yes and door C when he answers no. Oliver was sailing his yacht when a terrible storm started. His ship sank in the middle of the ocean, but the man managed to reach a small island. On the beach, there was a lighthouse that looked abandoned. But soon, 2 men appeared in the doorway. They captured Oliver and were going to keep him locked in the lighthouse forever. Oliver agreed, but asked them to grant him one last wish. When he told the men what he wanted, they set him free. Write down in the comments your ideas about what his wish was. Oliver said that he wanted the smartest to lock him up in the lighthouse. And since neither man wanted to admit that he was not as smart as the other, they let Oliver go. Lisa and Olivia managed to escape from a sinking ship. Lisa was dragged away by a powerful current and woke up on an island near a dilapidated lighthouse. As for Olivia, she was still floating in a lifeboat, but she was extremely thirsty. You need to tell us as fast as possible which of the 2 girls will survive longer. Hurry up, you might save a life. Lisa is more likely to survive for a long time. She might find a source of fresh water on the island. Plus, even though the lighthouse seems to be abandoned, it can serve as a shelter. Meanwhile, Olivia can't drink ocean water because the amount of salt it contains is dangerous for people.
Well, have you been looking for a chance to put on your detective hat? Well, here you go. A new portion of tricky riddles to sharpen your mind.
Yeah.
Melissa met her guests who came to her birthday party. Catherine came before Bob, Aaron after Raynon. Bob arrived before Raynon, and Timothy came after Aaron. So, which guest arrived last? Timothy was the last one to come. Now let's say you have 2 jugs. One of them holds exactly 3 gallons of water and the other holds 5 gallons. With the help of just these 2 jugs and a fire hose, how can you measure out exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 5-gallon jug to the top. Then pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. You now have 2 gallons of water remaining in the 5-gallon jug. Pour out the water from the 3-gallon jug and then pour the 2 gallons from the 5-gallon jug into the 3-gallon one. Finally, fill the 5-gallon jug to the top and pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. There was only enough space left for 1 more gallon in the 3-gallon jug, so you now have exactly 4 gallons in the 5-gallon jug. Look at this image attentively and try to find a mistake. There's no river on the other side of the bridge. Where does it disappear? Now, look at these men very closely. Can you figure out which of them is a fake doctor? The doctor on the left may be wearing casual clothes, but he has his badge on, which probably means he was called to work urgently and didn't have time to change. He's also holding a stethoscope. The doctor in the middle is holding a spoon. But even though it looks suspicious, he has just given a child patient some cough syrup. You can also see a badge on his uniform. As for the man on the right, he's not a doctor. There's no badge on his uniform. And if you examine him more attentively, you'll notice the police uniform under his white coat. He's most likely a police officer undercover. Christy poured herself a full cup of tea and drank half of it. Then she filled the cup with milk. Then she drank half of the drink again. Then she refilled it with milk again and drank the rest of it. Can you figure out if Christy drank more tea or more milk? She drank the same amount of tea and milk. Look, Christy ended up drinking all her tea since the cup was eventually empty. Christy refilled the milk 2 times, and every time it was half a cup of milk, totally a full cup of milk. Scepter, a famous magician, announced that he could throw a ping-pong ball in such a way that it would go a short distance, come to a complete stop, and go in the opposite direction. He also clarified that he wouldn't bounce the ball off of any object or tie anything to it. And indeed, he managed to perform the trick. How did he do it? He threw the ball straight up into the air. Can you name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T? These days are Tuesday, Thursday, today, and tomorrow. Now, listen up. All statements are true except one. 3 days ago was not Friday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. In 5 days, it's a day off. Yesterday was not Saturday. So the question is, what day of the week is today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? It's Thursday. Let's see how we can figure it out. 3 days ago was not Friday. If this statement is true, then today is not Monday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. If it's true, then today is Thursday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. Then today is not Tuesday. It's a day off in 5 days. If this statement was true, today would be Monday or Tuesday. But in this case, the statement contradicts the first and third ones. It must be false. Yesterday was not Saturday. It means that today is not Sunday. Based on all this, we can conclude that today is Thursday. There were 2 plastic jugs filled with water. Can you put all the water into one barrel without using any dividers and still tell which water comes from which jug? You can do it by freezing the water in one or both jugs and then cutting the plastic away, leaving only the ice. After that, you can put the chunks of ice into the barrel. This way, you'll be able to tell which water comes from which jug. A farmer in Florida owns a beautiful pear tree. He supplies fruit to a nearby grocery store. One day, the store owner calls the farmer to check how much fruit is available for him to buy. The farmer knows that the main trunk has 24 branches. Each branch has 12 boughs, and each bough has 6 twigs. Since each twig bears one piece of fruit, how many plums will the farmer be able to sell? Unfortunately, none. At least not from this tree. A pear tree doesn't produce plums. You have 5 jars with pills. Each pill weighs 10 grams, except for contaminated pills contained in one jar. There, each pill weighs 9 grams. You have a scale, but can you tell which jar has the contaminated pills after making just one measurement? To find the contaminated pills, you should follow the following steps. Take out 1 pill from jar number 1, 2 pills from jar number 2, 3 pills from jar number 3, 4 pills from jar number 4, and 5 pills from jar number 5. Put all these 15 pills on the scale. The correct weight should be 150 grams. But since one of the jars has contaminated pills, the weight will definitely be less than 150 grams. If the weight is 149 grams, then jar number 1 has the contaminated pills, because there is only one pill like that. If the weight is 148 grams, then the contaminated pills are in jar number 2. If the weight is 147 grams, the contaminated pills are in jar number 3, and so on. Many years ago, one guy was captured by an evil witch who kept him in her house. There was a cellar door in the house, and the witch warned the guy not to open it because he was not ready to see what was behind it. Can you guess what was on the other side of the door that the witch didn't want the guy to see? The guy was actually locked in the cellar, and on the other side of the door was the rest of the house and the outside world. The witch just didn't want the guy to escape. One day, a boss told his employees, "I can fight and beat any man who works here." A new employee, a tall ex-prize fighter, decided to challenge the boss. Interestingly, the boss won the bet, even though he didn't defeat the man. What did the boss do? Not to lose face, he fired the new employee on the spot. This way, when he defeated the boss, he wasn't working in the company anymore. Marty and Jill wanted to copy 3 60-minute tapes. They have 2 tape recorders that will dub the tapes for them, so they can do 2 at a time. It takes 30 minutes for each side to complete. Therefore, in 1 hour, 2 tapes will be completed, and in another hour, the third will be done. Jill says all 3 tapes can be finished in 90 minutes. Can you figure out how it is possible? Let's call the tapes 1, 2, and 3 with sides A and B. In the first 30 minutes, the guys will work with 1A and 2A. In the second 30 minutes, they will record 1B and 3A. Now, tape 1 is completed. Finally, in the last half hour, they will do tape 2B and 3B. Three friends, Jim, Alex, and Chris, pick hats from a box. In the box, there are 2 black hats and 1 white hat. Jim sees the hats on Alex and Chris. Alex only sees Chris's hat, and Chris can't see any hats. When asked if they know the colors of their hats, Jim and Alex both say no. Chris confidently says that he knows his hat is black. How has he figured it out? Here's how it works. Jim's no means there's at least 1 black hat between Alex and Chris. Alex says no too, indicating that he sees a black hat on Chris. If it was white, Alex would know he's wearing the black since there's only 1 white hat. So Chris is sure that his hat is black. No magic or tricks, just logic. Detective Sue finds herself entangled in a case involving the theft of precious diamonds from a vault fortified with high security measures. The list of suspects is diverse. There's a janitor, a security guard, even the CEO. Who is the thief? The thief is the janitor. Even in a high-security vault, the diamonds should still remain dust-free. The janitor's role involves cleaning them, so he had access to the jewels. On a chilly, wintry day, a figure stood in the center of someone's front yard. This individual remained in place for several weeks without any movement, and the yard's owner didn't mind it. Eventually, this person was gone. Who was he? It was a snowman. Meet Vampire Vlad. He invites his close nocturnal friends for a one-of-a-kind dinner gathering. Interestingly, the dinner party takes place during the daytime. All of his vampire companions accept the invitation without questioning it, and they arrive without encountering any problems. How on earth is this possible? Well, it turns out Vlad is the master of planning. He chose to host his vampire friends during a solar eclipse. Vampire Vlad has another story to puzzle you. One day, he found himself on a remote island. There seemed to be no humans there. To his relief, he stumbled upon a thriving garden filled with garlic. Vlad smiled with contentment. Garlic is dangerous for vampires. Then why did he laugh? That garlic garden implied the presence of a skilled gardener on the island. There was a human somewhere around. This discovery kindled Vlad's hope of a future food source. Here's the last one of the vampire-themed puzzles. In a quaint village, 3 individuals cast shadows, but one claims to be a vampire. The townsfolk wonder which of these 3 is the true vampire. Well, who is the vampire? The vampire is the one whose shadow behaves weirdly. While regular human shadows mimic people's movements, the vampire's shadow moves independently. Look, the human shadows synchronize with their steps, but the vampire shadow has a mind of its own. Steve met a tragic fate on a Saturday afternoon. His wife claims she was in the shower at that time. The chef says he was making breakfast, and the gardener was busy pruning hedges. Who is the likely criminal? It's the chef. The whole thing happened in the afternoon, but the chef said that he had been making breakfast. At a carnival, a boy made a bet with a man. The man said he could write the boy's exact weight on a piece of paper. If he succeeded, the boy would give him $50. If not, the boy would get $50. The boy thought he could always say he weighed more or less, so he agreed. However, in the end, the boy had to pay the man $50. How did the man win? The man wrote your exact weight on the paper, and that was exactly what he said he would do. A person finds themselves confined in a room with two possible escape routes. The initial exit is an arrangement of magnifying glasses that scorch anything passing through, because the sun is scorching. The second exit is guarded by a fire-spewing dragon, which is merciless to intruders. How can the captive make their escape? They should wait until nightfall when the sun is down and then make a dash through the first exit. A criminal has been sentenced to face a fatal fate, and he is given a choice to meet his end in one of three rooms: a room engulfed in a blazing fire, a room occupied by assassins, or a room inhabited by lions that haven't eaten a meal in years. Which room should he select? He should opt for the room with the lions. If they haven't eaten in years, they aren't alive anymore. Once, a magician bragged about being able to hold his breath underwater for 6 minutes. A kid overheard this and exclaimed, "And I can do 10 minutes with no gear." The magician bet $10,000. Oddly, the kid won. Do you know how? She was just holding a glass of water above her head for 10 minutes. A monkey, a squirrel, and a bird are having a race to the tip of a ginormous coconut tree, all of them eyeing a delicious banana at the top. Who's going to be the lucky winner here? The monkey, the squirrel, or the bird? Oh please, the answer is none of them, because bananas don't grow on coconut trees. There are 5 apples in a basket and 5 people in the room. Each person takes 1 apple. Yet in the end, 1 apple is left in the basket. How come? The last person took an apple together with the basket. There's a person who lives on the 14th floor of a building. When they take the elevator downstairs, they stop at the first floor. When they go upstairs, they only go to the 10th floor. And after that, they use the stairs the rest of the way. But here's the twist. When they're in the elevator with someone else, or when it's raining, they go straight to the 14th floor. So what's the deal with this weird behavior? This person is a child. They can't reach the 14th floor button. When it's raining, this kid has an umbrella and can use it to press the button. And when they're with someone else, this other person can press the button for them. A driver goes the wrong way on a one-way street, but when he passes a few cops, they don't stop him. Why? Because he's walking, not driving. 2 fathers and 2 sons go to the mall and then return home in a car. However, when they get out of the car at home, only 3 people exit. How is it possible? Did they forget someone at the mall? Well, it's because we've got 3 generations here: a grandfather, a father, and a son. So even though there are 2 fathers and 2 sons, there are only 3 individuals. A couple went on a 3-week-long vacation, taking great care to secure their home and asking a neighbor to look after it during their absence. Upon their return, the wife discovered that her valuable jewelry was gone. How did it happen? She had hidden her precious jewelry inside the freezer in a bag with frozen food. But during their absence, there was a power outage. The frozen food went bad, and the neighbor, trying to be helpful, threw away the spoiled food. Bye-bye, jewelry. Imagine finding yourself in a pitch-black room. You have just a matchbox, a candle, and a lamp. You have only one match. The question is, what should you light first? Easy peasy. You light the match first. Think of an 8-letter word that remains a valid word even when you remove one letter at a time until only one letter is left. It's almost impossible to guess, but give it a try. The word is starting. You can take away letters one by one like this: starting, staring, string, sting, sing, sin, in, and finally I. Did you find those tough? Let me know in the comments.
Hi detectives! Hope you're doing well and are ready to take on some tricky jobs. Drink that cup of coffee to wake your brain up and let's begin.
Yeah.
Look at this diver. He managed to descend to the very bottom of the ocean without any diving gear. Surprisingly, he stayed submerged for hours and didn't even need to come up for air. How is this possible? He didn't need any diving suit or gear because he was in a submarine. Now, there are 5 apples. They're green and red. Of any 2 apples, at least one is red. How many green apples are there? There's only one green apple. As you see, in any pair of apples, one or both fruits are red. It means there can be no pair where both apples are green, which in turn means there can't be more than one green apple. Otherwise, they would make a pair. Look at these people. Each of them seems to have some health problems, but in reality, one of them is just pretending. Who is it? It's Rick. If you look attentively, you'll notice that his phone is in his right pocket. He must have used his broken arm to put it there. You've got a lock with a special code consisting of 3 digits. Each digit can be any number from 1 to 9. To open the lock, you need to figure out the secret code. Let me help you and give you some clues. Before the first number, I say higher. Before the second number, I say lower. And before the last number, I say correct. Can you guess the code? The code is actually the number of letters in the words higher, lower, and correct. 6, 5, and 7 respectively. There's an invisible wall in front of you. How can you figure out where exactly it is without touching it? You need to throw something at it. For example, a ball. Wherever it stops midair is where the invisible wall is. Can you name an English word that becomes shorter when you add 2 letters to it? This is the word short. 3 brothers won 2 scooters that had the same price in a lottery. To divide their winnings equally, the oldest and the middle brother each took a scooter. And then each of them gave 350 coins to the youngest brother. How many coins is 1 scooter worth? It cost 1,050 coins. You see, the younger brother got this sum of money. This is a third of the cost of the 2 scooters. It means that 2 scooters are worth 2,100 coins. This way, 1 scooter costs 1,050 coins. Can you think of something so fragile that even speaking its name can break it? It's silence. Kate lives on the 4th floor and Alex lives on the 2nd floor. When she goes up to the 4th floor, Kate climbs 60 stairs. How many stairs does Alex have to climb to get to the 2nd floor? Your first answer might be that Alex needs to climb 30 stairs. It's half as many as Kate has to take because she lives on the floor twice as high. But this is not the case. When Kate goes up to the 4th floor, she climbs 6 flights of stairs. So, there are 20 stairs between 2 floors. It means that when Alex goes from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor, he climbs 20 stairs. A parrot has lived less than 100 years and can only answer yes and no questions. How many questions do you have to ask it to find out its age? At first glance, it may seem that a parrot can be asked up to 99 questions. But you can actually figure out the answer with a much smaller number of questions. First, ask the bird, "Are you over 50 years old?" If he answers yes, its age is from 51 to 99. If it answers no, its age is from 1 to 50. The number of options is halved after the first question. The next question you can ask is, "Are you more or less than 25 years old?" Or it can be, "Are you more or less than 75 years old?" depending on the answer to the first question. These following questions reduce the number of options by 4 times. In the end, the parrot only needs to be asked 7 questions. The pencil was placed on the floor, and several people were asked to jump over it, but no one managed to do it. Why? The pencil was put near the wall. George Washington, Sherlock Holmes, William Shakespeare, Ludwig van Beethoven, and Napoleon Bonaparte. Which of these famous characters is fundamentally different? Sherlock Holmes, because he's a fictional character, while the rest were real historical figures. Imagine a 5-mile-long bridge that can hold exactly 25 tons. A fully equipped truck, including the driver, weighs 25 tons. It starts driving over the bridge. In the middle of the bridge, a small sparrow lands on the truck. But surprisingly, the bridge does not collapse. Why? The truck has used some fuel to get to the center of the bridge. Anna majored in accounting at university. Her roommates wanted to test her intelligence. They took 3 envelopes and wrote some messages on them. Then they put the answers to Anna's exam questions in one of the envelopes. Only one envelope had a truthful message written on it. The other 2 were false. Anna wasn't allowed to open the envelopes and could only pick one. The first message read, "There are no exam answers here." The second said, "The exam answers are here." And the third message read, "The exam answers aren't in the second envelope." Which envelope should Anna pick? The third one. It tells the truth, which means the exam answers are in the first envelope. A businessman was about to go through a security check at the airport when he realized someone had taken his luggage. The airport police had 3 suspects. Lisa said, "I wouldn't take someone's old brown bag. I have my own, bright pink and pretty." Mike explained he was a light traveler and didn't have any luggage. He put everything in his backpack. Rob had a broken arm and a sprained ankle. He could hardly carry anything. The police immediately knew who had done it. Can you figure it out? It was Lisa.
Oh no!
Nobody told her the luggage was brown. Then, how did she figure it out? When several friends decided to play cards, they noticed that a few cards had been lost. They also realized that if they dealt the rest of the cards among 4 people, 3 cards would remain. If they dealt these cards between 3 people, 2 cards would remain. And if they distributed the cards among 5 people, again, 2 cards would remain. How many cards were left in the pack? There were 47 cards left in the pack. Let's see. If 47 is divided by 4, 3 is left out. And if 47 is divided by either 3 or 5, 2 is left out. Mrs. Kim called the school principal to report that someone had taken her students' tests. She added that she had noticed a stranger wearing school clothes, gloves, and a red mask walking school hallways. This person also had 3 star tattoos on their fingers. The principal didn't believe the teacher. Why? She said the person had been wearing gloves, but then, how did she see 3 star tattoos on the intruder's fingers? She must have lost the test herself and was trying to find an excuse. You need to get a taxi. Oh, how lucky.
Hey!
There are not 1 but 3 cars over there. But which car should you choose? The first taxi doesn't have a license plate. That's suspicious. And the driver of the second taxi is covering their face with a mask. That's creepy. You should choose the third taxi.
Elsa was 17 years old the day before yesterday. Next year, she'll turn 20.
Yay.
How come? It's possible if the present day is January 1st, while Elsa's birthday is on the 31st of December. The day before yesterday, on December 30, she was still 17 years old. Yesterday, on the 31st of December, she turned 18. Thus, this year, Elsa turns 19 and next year 20. Elsa and her sister Helga explore an old attic in their parents' house. It's very dark and dirty. After that, they go downstairs to have some lunch. Helga's face is all covered with dust, while Elsa's face is super clean. But still, only Elsa goes to the bathroom to wash her face. Why? Elsa noticed that her sister's face was dirty, so she thought her face must be dirty too. As for Helga, she saw that Elsa's face was clean and assumed that her own face was clean too. After lunch, Elsa and Helga go for a walk across an enchanted forest. They reach the riverbank, but the bridge is closed for repairs. The sisters notice two dwarfs fishing in a boat near the bridge. They agree to help the sisters, but their boat is very tiny. It can fit either one sister or two dwarfs. Luckily, they manage to solve this issue. Elsa and Helga cross the river on the same boat. How? Well, first of all, one of the dwarfs brought his fellow on the opposite bank. Then he headed back for the sisters alone. Helga got into the boat and crossed the river. She gave the second dwarf the boat, and he returned to the opposite bank. He picked his fellow dwarf and brought him to Helga. Then one of the dwarfs swam to Elsa and passed the boat to her. She crossed the river and joined Helga, and finally, the second dwarf returned to his fellow. Helga and Elsa keep on walking and get lost in the forest. There are 3 roads to the nearest town. The first route is filled with mutant plants which feed on humans. The second path leads through an ice cave with a hungry dragon frozen inside a huge ice cube. The third route leads through a village of fairies. Their magic makes humans lose their minds. Which way is safe? Well, the dragon is trapped inside the ice cube, so it's not that dangerous. Finally, the sisters reach the town. They're walking down the main street. Suddenly, someone throws an orange right at Helga's head. Elsa identifies the apartment from which the fruit fell out and goes there to complain. She knocks, and a young man opens the door right away. Elsa explains that her sister was hit by an orange that fell from his window. But the guy says, "I was washing my dog when you knocked. Only me and my pet live here, so you confused the floors." But Elsa didn't believe him. Why? According to the man, he was bathing his only pet, but the dog's hair is dry. Therefore, his story is fake. Elsa and Helga enter the local home decor shop. Helga takes a picture of her sister standing in front of the mirror. Can you spot anything odd in this photo? Take a closer look at the mirror. Elsa's hands are reflected wrong, as well as the sale poster behind her. She must be a vampire. Just kidding. The sisters continue exploring the shop, but suddenly Elsa begins to scream and runs away. That's because one of these ladies is not alive. Can you guess who? The first woman is an ordinary human. There's a mirror behind her. The third lady has a painting of herself in the background. And the second lady, who's looking over her shoulder, is a phantom.
Oh God.
Her reflection in the mirror doesn't match the reality. Elsa decides to hide in a building nearby. Surprise! It's a pet shop. Elsa wanders around it and spots one weird detail. Can you see it too? The turtle is wearing sunglasses. The locals tell Elsa and Helga about a creepy werewolf who has been scaring the citizens for several weeks. They only know that this werewolf is a lady, and she has a husband. He's the only person who can calm her down. Elsa finds 3 suspects who might be the werewolf's husband, but none of them admits it. Can you find him? He's the second guy. There are suspicious brownish hairs on his clothes, although his own hair is blonde. The next day, Helga has a birthday party. Elsa goes to the bakery to purchase a cake for her. She's late, so she rushes over and bumps into a waiter. Elsa hits her head and forgets what cake Helga asked her to buy. She remembers just 3 things. It shouldn't have any green elements, The cake frosting shouldn't include more than one color, and it must have at least one berry. Can you help Elsa find the correct cake? Elsa should take the fourth cake. It's a chocolate cheesecake, so it doesn't have anything green. The glazing is brown and is decorated with cherries. A perfect match. Elsa buys the cake and leaves. The bakery is located inside the highest tower in town. Elsa enters the elevator to go down, but she hits the wrong button and finds herself on the roof. She decides to take some pictures with the iconic huge clock installed at the top of this tower. Oops! Elsa drops her phone from the roof. She decides to leave, but someone has already locked the door, and the elevator won't work. So she's trapped on the roof. Luckily, Elsa can still change the time of the clock. What time should Elsa set on the clock to make someone notice and rescue her? If she sets 5:05 on the clock, it'll look like an SOS signal. Finally, Elsa escapes from the tower and heads to the parking lot. Here's her car. Can you figure out the number of the place where it's parked? '87. Elsa arrives home. Helga shows her vacation photos sent by her new boyfriend, Kyle. In this case, you can see Kyle, his friend Bob, and a humanoid robot, Neo. Neo is standing next to Bob. A person wearing the yellow mask is not a man. What color is Kyle's mask? According to the terms, only the third guy can be Kyle, so his mask is blue. The birthday party is going well. It's almost midnight, so Elsa goes to the kitchen and adds candles on the birthday cake. Suddenly, she remembers that the only lighter in the house is upstairs in her room. She leaves the cake at the table for a minute. Then Elsa returns and sees the cake smashed all over the floor.
Oh, no.
She questions 3 suspects. Lauren says, "I was in the living room all night. I don't know who did it." Wendy says, "I went outside to watch the full moon. It's so beautiful tonight." Kyle says, "I was shooting a TikTok dance with Helga." Who ruined the cake? Wendy. Take a look out the window. The moon is not full. Busted. The next morning, Helga wakes up earlier than Elsa and checks her feed. Breaking news: a legendary thief ran away from a nearby prison and now creeps around the town. He's a talented shapeshifter, so no one knows for sure what he might look like. Suddenly, Helga hears someone ringing on the door. She opens and faces 2 guys who introduce themselves. Bob is a gardener from a nearby park, and Peter is a garbage man. Both guys want to use a bathroom, so they ask Helga to let them in. But only one of them is safe to invite over. Can you guess who? Bob is wearing clothes with red stains, but he's also holding a brush, so he was probably just painting a fence. Let's take a closer look at Peter's facial hair. One mustache has come unglued. It's fake. So he must be the runaway criminal from the news.
You just entered a riddle solving competition. The game show host shows you the first riddle you have to answer. Take a look at the image. Who do you think will be able to make it all the way across the line? Let's face it, it's the man on the left. Even though it looks like he's having a hard time carrying such heavy things, the weight is evenly distributed between his 2 hands, so he'll probably make it through without any problem. For your next challenge, the game show host shows you a picture of sinking boats. Which boat do you think will sink first? The first boat has 2 holes in it. but somehow it has way less water inside. The second boat only has one hole, but look at the amount of water that got inside. It's definitely the second boat that's going to sink first. Since you passed the first 2 rounds, the third one gets a bit harder. Ken was riding on his rollerblades when he fell down and hurt his head. He woke up in the hospital only to find that 3 Barbies were waiting for him. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which Barbie is actually Ken's girlfriend? This is a tricky one. It can't be the third Barbie, because the real Barbie would never wink at Ken. It's usually him that does the flirty things. It's also not the second Barbie, because she would never put makeup in front of him. So this leaves us the first Barbie, who must be his girlfriend. The Fin is a famous hostel in Spain. It's especially famous for its fun showers. But hey, something doesn't look right in this image. Take a look and try to guess what it is. The woman on the right is squeezing a ketchup bottle instead of a shampoo bottle. That's definitely weird, huh? For the final rounds, the host picked out a few written riddles for you. The first one is, I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. Am I a microphone, a phone, or an echo? What would you say? The answer is an echo. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I? A tree, fire, or clouds? The correct answer is fire. Way to go if you chose that. Matthew works in the same company as Jean. He's had a crush on her for months and has been trying to impress her in any way he can think of. That's why he decided to take part in the Brain Challenge, a contest his company organizes once a year. By saying yes, he had to answer a bunch of expert-level questions and solve some pretty difficult riddles. For the first round, he had to crack a rebus puzzle. Take a look at the piece of paper they gave him. Can you guess the answer? The answer was invisible string. Nice! For the next round, they took Matthew to a room full of random stuff. His task was to find a specific object. As a clue, they gave him a piece of paper that said, "What goes up when the rain goes down?" Look around and help him find the object. It was that red and blue umbrella over there. For the final round, Matthew had to solve an AI riddle. If he answered it correctly, he would win the contest's main prize and probably Jean's heart. The riddle said, I have 1,000 needles, but I do not sew. What am I? Can you guess what he answered? The correct answer is a porcupine. Alfred is a supermodel, and he just landed his dream job. The biggest magazine in the country invited him to be on the cover of their latest issue. On the day of the photo shoot, he arrived early in the studio. After finishing with hair and makeup, he looked in the mirror and screamed, "Oh no!" His skin was all red. It looked like he was having some serious allergic rash. He called all the assistants he had seen earlier that day to interrogate them. Amy, the photographer's assistant, said she had been told Alfred was allergic to peanuts, so she made sure to only buy safe snacks. Bo, the makeup artist, said he hadn't touched Alfred's food. He said that right after he had finished his job, he left for a coffee break. Mary, the cleaning lady, said that she knew how sensitive models could be, so that's why she only used organic and hypoallergenic products to clean his dressing room. Alfred immediately knew who had contributed to his rash. Can you figure it out too? It was definitely Bo. Sure, he didn't have access to Alfred's food, but he was the only one who touched Alfred's face that day. Liv was recording a dance routine for her social media page when a huge portal opened up and swallowed her whole. The next thing she knew, she was stuck inside a big cavern. Out of the blue, a great genie appeared. He told her that she would only be allowed to leave if she figured a way out by herself. As soon as he disappeared, she saw that there were 3 buttons on the wall. There was a red, a yellow, and a green button. On the floor, there was a note that read, TDUPTRNOREHEBSST. She clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a hidden door on the wall. Can you guess which button she chose? The red button. She unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." As soon as she pressed the button, Liv was transported into a virtual reality world. An artificial intelligence greeted her and showed her 3 doors. The AI told her that there was only one door that would lead her to freedom. It told her that behind the first door, there were hungry Pac-Men waiting for someone to walk inside. Behind the second door, there were cursed rollerblades. Once you put them on, you would never be able to take them off. Plus, they had a will of their own and ended up taking you to some pretty dark places. Behind the last door, there were flying fuzzy creatures with laser eyes that burn anything they came into contact with. Which door do you think Liv should choose to escape? Well, she should pick the second door because she wouldn't be obligated to put on the pair of rollerblades. She could walk past them and straight to her freedom. During the time she was gone, Liv noticed that someone had stolen her laptop. It had all of her social media content in it. She figured it must have been one of her roommates, so she decided to take a look around the house to try to find it. Take a look at these images. The first room belongs to Jill. The second one belongs to Rachel, and the third one belongs to Amy. Can you figure out who stole Liv's laptop? If you look closely, Rachel's cat is sleeping on top of something that really looks like a laptop. It must have been her. On a hot summer day, Marjorie decided to go to the public swimming pool. As soon as she arrived there, she ran into 3 close friends, Sarah, Raven, and Donna. One of these women just gave birth to triplets. Can you guess who? It was Donna. If you look closely at her wrist, she's wearing 3 DIY bracelets with the word Mom written on them. Sam was backpacking through Latin America when he stopped at a restaurant to get some lunch. When he walked inside, he immediately spotted something weird. One of the customers is definitely not human. Can you guess who? It's the guy on the counter. Look, he's charging his hand on the counter socket. He must be a robot or something.
Leslie was driving at night to visit her parents, but unfortunately, her car broke down in the middle of nowhere. She decided to walk around to find some help and came across an eerie-looking house. As she started walking through the garden to reach the door, she suddenly got really scared and ran back to her car. Can you spot the 3 things that made her terrified? Look at the statue at the center of the fountain. Its eyes are moving left and right. Secondly, do you see the skeleton hands that are trying to crawl out of the ground? Creepy. And on top of everything, the black cat here has a snake tail instead of a regular one. Mrs. Blair thought, what better way to scare her students than with a pop quiz on Halloween? But she decided to pay extra attention during the exam because everybody would be coming to school dressed in costumes, and that would make it easier for them to cheat. And she was right, because one of them was indeed trying to cheat. Can you tell who? Look, this girl here is hiding a piece of paper with the answers under her witch's hat. On Halloween night, Amanda was playing Truth or Dare with her friends. When it was her turn, they challenged her to enter the old mansion, which not a single soul in town dared to enter before. She accepted the challenge and went inside. But suddenly, the door behind her closed on its own and got locked. Then a skeleton butler greeted her and said, "You're not welcome here, but you can leave if you know my riddle. In the darkest night, I come to life. My eerie gaze causes no strife. What am I that lights the way when monsters and goblins come out to play?" Can you help Amanda? The correct answer is a jack-o'-lantern. Amy was invited to a Halloween party in her neighborhood. When she arrived at the house, she noticed three people in costumes who were chilling in the hot pool. But one of them was not a real human being. Can you tell who? Well, the first girl in the witch's costume and the second guy with fangs look scary, but they're only wearing makeup. But the girl who is in a mermaid costume is a real mermaid, because look at her neck. She has gills. It was Aurora's 21st birthday, and her witch aunts were finally going to accept her to their coven. However, there was one spell that she needed to complete as her final test, and it required a magical cauldron. The catch is one could only use this cauldron if they solved the riddle that was engraved on it, which said, "I'm a season of colors with leaves that fall. It's when cozy sweaters come out to warm you all. What am I, aspiring magician, do you know? Solve this riddle and your magical powers will grow." Can you help Aurora find the correct answer? The answer you're looking for is the season of autumn. Take a look at these two women who are preparing the dinner tables for their Halloween party, but one of them has nefarious intentions. Can you tell who is the dangerous one? If you take a closer look, you'll see that the lady on the left is more spooky than scary. The green cream on the brownies may look poisonous, but it's just food coloring. And those fingers on the tray are only finger-shaped cookies. So she is simply preparing for the holiday. But the lady on the right didn't even bother to wear a costume, even though she's throwing a Halloween dinner party. And why would anyone sharpen their knives before her guests arrive? That's suspicious. So she must be the dangerous one. The young witch, Elaine, who lived in a deep enchanted forest, was invited to her coven's Halloween gathering. Unfortunately, her broom was broken, and the only other way she could get to her destination was through drinking the teleportation potion. However, she had never cast it before, and the three main ingredients for it were hidden with a riddle in her spell book. The first one was, "In the shadows I quietly grow, not a plant nor an animal you know. After rain I might start to bloom, often found in a forest gloom." Can you tell what the first ingredient is? It's a mushroom. The riddle for the second ingredient went, I'm as light as air, soft to the touch. Upon a bird's back, I don't weigh much. I help a creature soar high and free, yet I fall to the ground for all to see. What am I? Do you know the answer? It's a feather. And the riddle for the third ingredient was this. In darkness I weave my trap so discreet. With patience I wait for a tasty treat. Silent and stealthy in corners I bide. With multiple eyes my world I divide. Can you help Elaine find out what that is? The answer is a spider. But now she needed to wander deeper into the woods to find those ingredients. Take a look around. Can you help her spot them? There's the mushroom under these flowers. The bird's feather is here, hidden behind the flowers. And the spider is climbing up this tree. One famous club in the city was organizing a Halloween party, and Jenny and her friends were going to go. Inside, there were 2 different counters from where they could get their drinks. But one of these bartenders is dangerous. Can you tell which one? This bartender is dressed as a vampire for Halloween, and he is simply putting on a fire show. On the other hand, the bartender who is polishing the glasses has a bottle of poison here among the bottles, so the girl should avoid him at all costs. James was attending a Halloween dinner party. He wanted to have something to eat, so he headed to the open buffet. Examine these 3 snack options closely. One of them will hurt his stomach. Can you tell which one that is? The first cupcakes might look like they're dripped in blood, but it's just cherry-flavored glaze. And these worms on the pudding cups are just worm gummies. But look at this candy apple. It's glowing like fluorescence. That looks toxic. Monsters from all around the world were going to meet at their annual Halloween celebration. But the word was out that a human heard about it and was planning to crash their party. So they placed a monster security at the entrance of the venue. The security was suspicious of these 3 creatures. Can you help him figure out which one of them is actually a human? Take a peek at the moon. It's not full. Then how come this werewolf is here? He shouldn't have turned into one, so he must be a human wearing a costume. Amy and her friends went to the Halloween parade that was visiting their town. There was a scary maze, and Amy decided to try it herself. However, after a while, she got lost and started to panic. But she didn't notice that there were hints around the maze that would guide her to the exit. Can you spot them? Look at these bricks on the maze walls here. They're in the shape of arrows. So she can just follow them and leave. Aaron got dressed as a pirate for Halloween. On his way to his friends, he saw a glowing box on the side of the road. He got curious and went to check it out. He discovered that it was a treasure box. He tried to open it, but it was locked, and there was a riddle on it. I'm colorful and chatty, perched up high. with feathers so vibrant I catch your eye. I can mimic your words both near and far, found in the jungle or as a pet. Can you tell what am I? It's a parrot.
Mary is a college student, and she's late for class. That's why she runs down the hallway and bumps into a skateboarder. She hits her head and forgets what class she was running to. Mary remembers just 3 things. This class is taught by a redhead professor. She has to go upstairs, and she already attended economics and philosophy classes today. Can you help her find the correct classroom? There are 4 redhead professors in this college, but we can exclude those whose classrooms are on the ground floor. Although this gentleman is on the first floor, he teaches economics, so he doesn't fit either. Meanwhile, the math teacher matches the requirements perfectly, so Mary should go up to the second floor. Mary's walking down the street after classes. Suddenly, a car stops in front of her and someone kidnaps her. Mary wakes up in a dusty basement. The door is not locked, but it's guarded by a creepy guy. She looks around and finds 3 pills: red, green, and blue. Each pill will give her one specific superpower for 10 seconds. The red pill gives the power of super speed. The blue pill will make her invisible. And the green one will make Mary fly. Which pill should she choose to escape? Mary should choose the invisibility pill. The guard will not be able to catch her if he's not aware that she's running away. The next day, Mary goes to college and faces amazing news. Her friend Bill succeeded in making clones of some students. But unfortunately, now he cannot tell clones from real people. Can you help him? Let's take a closer look at the second lady's eyes and the third lady's ears. These 2 individuals are definitely clones. What about these guys? Can you sort out all the clones? Both of the palms of the second guy are right, and the third one has weird wires in his arm. So only the first guy is a human. Let's see if you can spot clones here. The first and the third guys are too suspicious for regular human beings. Mary is visiting her granny, who lives on a farm and grows vegetables. But Granny is very upset because someone stole the largest pumpkin from her garden the other night. She suspects one of her neighbors. Mary decides to question them. Olivia says, "My pumpkins are way better than your granny's. Why would I steal from her?" Sam says, "I was on a business trip the other night, so I didn't see anything. I'm not a huge fan of vegetables, that's why I don't grow them." And Tom says, "Your granny is bothering me with small talk all the time, so I avoid visiting her farm at all costs." Can you help Mary spot the thief? It was Sam. He has a scarecrow with a big pumpkin head. Granny goes to sleep early, and Mary decides to watch TV. Breaking news! A dangerous criminal ran away from a nearby prison and now creeps around the village. Suddenly, Mary hears someone knocking on the door. She opens and faces 2 ladies who introduce themselves as Mary's neighbors. Both ladies are baking cakes separately. Sarah is asking for a cup of sugar, and Sheila would like to borrow a cup of milk. But only one of them is safe to invite over. Can you guess who? Both ladies are wearing clothes with red stains. They might have stained it while making their cakes. But Sarah has a real axe hidden in her boot, so she must be the runaway criminal from the news. Mary is looking through Granny's old stuff and finds 3 spooky pictures. Only one of these ladies is a real human being. Can you guess who? The first lady is a real mermaid. Take a closer look at her neck. She has gills and she breathes underwater, so we can exclude her. The third lady has vampire ears and red eyes, but who knows, maybe it's just a costume. Meanwhile, the second lady is hanging on a transparent rope, so she's just pretending to be flying. And since we know there's only one human among these ladies, we can conclude that it's the second lady. Mary finds 2 similar pictures of her granny. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are! Later that night, Mary receives a video call from her grandpa. He's working on a space station. Grandpa tells Mary sad news.
Tonight, someone from my team stole all the seeds from the local Martian kiwi. It took me a year to obtain them. I'd like to find the one who did it as soon as possible. Otherwise, it'll take years to find new seeds.
Mary takes a brief look at the crew and spots the thief right away. What about you? In her user picture, Lily doesn't have any moles on her face. Seems like these spots are the kiwi seeds that she's decided to hide in plain sight. Mary goes to the local shopping mall and sees these 3 guys. One of them is going on a date tonight. Can you guess who? It must be the third guy. He's hiding a small wrapped gift, probably for his date. Mary enters a clothing store, looks around, and spots 4 odd details. Have you noticed them too? The mannequin has 6 fingers on one of her hands. The ceiling fan is not connected to any wires, but it works. The lady is eating ice cream near the cashmere sweaters, but there's a sign at the entrance forbidding customers from entering with food, and the sales lady is walking barefoot. Mary continues her shopping and finds something very curious. It has a head and a tail that will never meet. Having too many of them is always a treat. What is it? It's a coin. Mary purchases something that helps you from your head to your toe, but the more it works, the smaller it grows. Can you guess what it is? It's a bar of soap. Mary gets out of the shopping mall and walks to the parking lot. She approaches her car and sees that someone had written a couple of words on her windshield. Mary finds 3 suspects and questions them. Chelsea says, "I'm sorry, but I didn't see anything. I was too busy with my shopping bags." Peter says, "I've just parked my car nearby. Your windshield was already signed when I arrived there." And Alice says, "Wow, lady, you're still very lucky. Take a look at my car. Someone scratched it while I was in the supermarket." Who's guilty? Chelsea. Take a look at her lipstick color. It's purple, just like the inscription on Mary's car. Mary wants to take her car to the nearest car wash. Chelsea offers to pay for the cleaning if Mary manages to crack her riddle. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I? Ready to hear the correct answer? Footsteps. The weekend is over and Mary leaves Granny for college. She enters the dorm and finds a huge bouquet of roses on her bed. There's no card, so Mary has no idea who's her secret admirer. Mary questions 3 suspects, but each denies their involvement. Bill says, "I'm too broke. I can't afford to buy such an expensive gift." Paul says, "I have a girlfriend. I give flowers to her only." And Dave says, "Why would I get roses or anything else? You didn't reply to messages." Who brought the flowers? Bill. He has a few rose petals left under his bed. Mary goes to the local library. Oh no, the door is locked. Someone changed the 9-digit password, but luckily, Mary finds a note with a hint. 3, 1, 2, 9, 4, 7. Can you help her figure out the new code to open the door? She should literally press 3 1s, 2 9s, and 4 7s. Finally, Mary enters the library, but she yells and runs away in fear. Can you guess why? Take a look at the flower pots. There's a greenish snake crawling around one of the plants.
Daniel needed to visit his relatives in another city, so he boarded a train leaving from the railway station in his town. Not far from the station, there was a rather long tunnel. The train left the station and started to accelerate. Daniel's main problem was that he was a bit claustrophobic. What is the best place for him to sit? Daniel should sit at the back of the train. This way, he will spend minimum time inside the tunnel since the train is accelerating and moving faster and faster. Now let's say you have a bedsheet that is 50 inches long on each side, and you need to create 50 handkerchiefs with each side 1 inch long. It takes you 1 minute to cut out a 1-inch handkerchief. How long will it take you to cut 50 handkerchiefs? 49 minutes. When you finish the 49th handkerchief, you'll be left with 1 more piece of fabric you won't need to cut out. Lena, Allison, and Jenny are 3 daughters of mathematician George. When someone asks George about the ages of his daughters, he replies, "The current age of my daughters is prime. Also, the difference between their ages is also prime. So, how old are the girls?" Lena is 2, Allison is 5, and Jenny is 7. Their age difference is always a prime number. 7 minus 2 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. 7 criminals robbed a bank and hid the coins they got at a deserted factory. They decided to divide the money equally the next morning. But 2 greedy robbers wanted to deceive the others. They went to the factory at night and tried to divide the coins equally between them. But 1 coin was left. So they called another robber and decided to divide the amount equally among the 3 of them. Sadly, 1 coin was left again. The same thing happened when they called the 4th, 5th, and 6th robbers. Only when the seventh robber arrived in the morning did they manage to divide the coins equally. How many coins were there in total? There were 301 coins. This number can't be divided by 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 evenly. At the same time, 301 can be perfectly divided by 7. Now, look at these two ladies performing on the stage. Both of them have to do dangerous tricks. But can you figure out which of them is in real danger? It's the girl with the snake. This is a venomous snake. Someone replaced the harmless snake the girl had to use in her performance with this dangerous reptile. See that box with the warning sign the snake was taken from? The other girl is safe. Even though the skirt seems to be burning uncontrollably, she's holding a special spray to extinguish the fire. On a tropical vacation, 4 friends decided to go snorkeling. Each friend spotted a different marine creature: a sea turtle, a clownfish, a starfish, and a jellyfish. Can you match each of the friends with the marine creature they spotted if Emma didn't see the sea turtle, Liam spotted the jellyfish, Olivia didn't see the clownfish, Jack saw the starfish? Emma spotted the clownfish, Liam saw the jellyfish, Olivia spotted the sea turtle, and Jack saw the starfish. After marveling at amazing sea creatures, our 4 friends rented 4 different watercraft: a kayak, a paddleboard, a jet ski, and a sailboat. Can you match each of the friends with the watercraft they rented based on these clues? Emma didn't rent the kayak or the sailboat. Liam rented the jet ski. Olivia was choosing between the paddleboard and the sailboat. Jack didn't rent the sailboat. Emma rented the paddleboat. Liam rented the jet ski. Olivia rented the sailboat, and Jack rented the kayak. So, I have keys but can't open any locks. I have a flat surface, but you can't stand on it. What am I? I'm a map. A system error caused the change in David's net banking password. To sort this out, he called customer care. This is the conversation he had with the assistant. David, my password has changed. Custom care executive, we have kept your password distinct this time. It has 8 letters, out of which 3 letters are the same as previous. David, okay, thanks. Can you determine the old and the new password of David's net banking account? The original password was changed, and the new password given by the custom care executive is distinct. In the 22nd century, robots live among people, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. But sometimes, they resemble people so much, it makes the detective work way harder. Like this time. Eric Blank, an experienced police officer, has to figure out which of the 3 suspects is guilty of identity theft. He knows for sure the culprit is a robot, but who isn't human? It's the girl in the middle. She has a USB port on the side of her neck. There is a wide field of corn. A goose finds its way into the field and starts running. Can you figure out up to which point the goose can run into the field? The goose can only run till the middle of the field. After that, it'll actually be running out of the field. Look at these 9 marbles and the way they're arranged. Can you move just 2 marbles to form a square? It can be done this way. Marta's shoes were all green except 2, all red except 2, and all pink except 2. How many shoes did Marta have? Just 3, 1 of each color. Janet had a dream. She wanted to become her professor's assistant. He was a famous and talented scientist. The man knew she was a smart girl, but before offering her the position, he decided to test her. The professor took her to a house with 2 rooms. They were completely isolated from each other. In one room, there were 3 switches. In the other room, there were 3 light bulbs. Janet had to stay in the room with the switches. She was allowed to go to the other room only once. She had to understand which switch was connected to each of the bulbs. The girl managed to solve this task. How did she do it? She turned on the first switch and waited for a minute. Then she turned it off. After that, she flipped the second switch and went inside the room with the bulbs. One of the bulbs was on. It was the one connected to the second switch. Janet touched the remaining bulbs. The warm one was connected to the first switch, and the cold one was linked to the third switch. You've drawn a long line. How can you make it even longer without touching it? You need to draw another shorter line nearby. In this case, the first one will be longer than the second one. I have 6 faces and 21 eyes, and still I can't see. What am I? I'm a dice. An empty bus arrived at a bus stop, and 15 people entered. At the next stop, 10 passengers left the bus, and 5 people fewer than at the first stop entered. After the third stop, 15 people left the bus. How many people are still inside? Only one person, the driver. Detectives have been trying to catch 2 infamous bank robbers for several years, and finally, after another robbery, they managed to capture one of the criminals. Police officers interrogated him for 2 days, but he said nothing about the stolen money or his accomplices' whereabouts. Still, in the next 24 hours, the detectives managed to find the place where the money was hidden. It was a small house in the suburbs. In its basement, there was a man who seemed very excited to see the police. He said he had been trapped in the house already for a week. Nobody visited him, and he was starting to run out of food. That's why he was so happy to read the good news in the paper. The police officers immediately realized he was the accomplice they had been looking for. How? If he was trapped in the basement, how could he get a hold of fresh newspapers? The town's modern art museum has just been robbed. A priceless painting from top-notch artist Floyd B. has gone missing overnight. The museum's manager called Detective Pressfield to help. As soon as he arrived at the museum, he asked to see the security footage of the previous night. He identified 3 suspicious individuals staring at the painting for longer than usual. The first person, wearing a blue jacket, entered through the museum's front entrance. The security camera caught her staring at the painting from several angles, like she was measuring it. The second person, wearing a red hat, left the museum through the side exit, which is pretty suspicious. And the last person, who was wearing a black face mask, spent a long time looking at the museum's ceiling, trying to identify where the security cameras were located. Take a look at the footage. Can you guess who's the most likely thief? It's the last person. I mean, he was wearing a mask and spent hours trying to identify the security cameras. After that, there was no footage anymore. So that probably means he was successful at leaving the museum with the priceless painting. Samantha and Joanna were stuck at Blue Ridge's airport security line. A security guard found both of them suspicious and asked them to wait while he analyzed the X-ray footage. Take a look at both women. Who do you think is really hiding something? Well, Samantha has a suspicious face, but she probably just wants to go to the bathroom or something. Now, Joanna is definitely hiding something under her skirt. If she had really been pregnant, she would have used the preferential line. And look how much she's sweating. She's probably nervous she'll get caught. Detective Sharon's office was called to investigate a series of mysterious break-ins happening in a fancy neighborhood. At each crime scene, the robber would leave the word "closer" sprayed in graffiti on a nearby wall. The first place to be robbed was Mrs. Moore's cafe. Then the criminal's next target was the town's library. After a week, the thief had left his mark in a fancy office building, a supermarket, and a restaurant. It took Detective Sharon a while, but she soon understood there was a pattern to the break-ins. And she was even able to predict what the next break-in would be. Can you figure out what it was? The thief was pretty clever for sure. The first letter of each of the locations the thief entered spelled out the word "closer." Since the last location to be robbed was a restaurant, the next place would start with C, restarting the cycle. Most likely, the neighborhood's community center. In the East Valley, there's a beautiful old kingdom known as Piatra. One of the town's most precious symbols is a valuable jewel that is always displayed during the city's festivities. This year, during the last celebration, something tragic happened. The town's jewel went missing. The king was devastated and mad that such an ancient artifact had been stolen. He soon called the kingdom's official investigator to help figure out who had possibly stolen the jewel. The culprit would have to be proclaimed responsible for their theft in front of the entire kingdom. There were many people at the festivity, but the investigator narrowed the suspects down to 4 people. Amelia said she saw something strange after the bard's presentation. She saw that Benjamin had picked up the jewel and handed it to Carol. But Ben said he didn't go anywhere near the jewel because he had been working on one of the stalls during the fair. Carol said she did go near the jewel, but she had only admired it from up close. And Daniel said that he could swear seeing Carol carrying the jewel, but he didn't see her take it. Based on the testimonies, the investigator had no trouble figuring out who the culprit was. Can you figure it out as well? It was Carol. Almost everyone thought she was involved in the crime. And plus, if you zoom in on her bag, you'll see something pointing. Sure looks like a jewel, doesn't it? The town's only DVD rental shop suffered a robbery last night. The store's owner called the police station to report the crime. The detective almost couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, why would someone steal a DVD when there are so many streaming channels nowadays? The detective asked to see the footage from the security camera and identified 3 main suspects. Sarah was a middle-aged woman. She said she still owned a DVD player and preferred to watch movies the old way, so she regularly rented from the store. Alex was a recently retired movie director, and one of his favorite pastimes was going to the store. He said he hadn't noticed anything strange the day before, except for a random teenager that walked inside. David was in his teens, and he spent hours in the shop by himself. He said he was doing research for school, but swears he didn't take anything. Can you tell who did it? It was David. The security footage caught him in the R-rated section of the store. He must have stolen the DVD, thinking the store owner wouldn't sell it to him. There's an old museum that only displays ancient Egyptian artifacts. One day, Susan, an anthropology student, went to the museum in order to study some of the art on display. She went into a room full of things, such as necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. She photographed every detail she thought was important for her research when something caught her eye. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out what it was? Look at those earrings. They look completely fake. Plus, they have a tiny price tag attached to them. The original earrings were definitely missing. Susan reported the crime to the museum's manager. The manager immediately informed the museum security and opened an investigation. Susan was on the initial suspect list, but after checking the museum's security footage, she was let go. Museum security identified 3 main suspects: one of the museum's guards, one of the students from the museum's archaeology school, and a visitor. The visitor said he had only popped in for a quick visit. He said he had seen the earrings, but they looked pretty original to him. The security guard said he hadn't seen anything strange going the last few days. Everything was as it should be. And the students said they had studied the earring in a class, but they never got the chance to see it before it was stolen. Soon enough, museum security found the culprit. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. When security went to investigate the suspects, they never mentioned that the original earring had been exchanged by fake ones. The fact that he knew there was an original version means that he was the one that swapped them. Yikes. Maya was working on her latest artwork, which was commissioned by a high-end gallery in town. Suddenly, all the lights in her studio went out, and since it was nighttime, she was left completely in the dark. She heard footsteps approaching the studio door, and the next thing she knew, she was feeling dizzy. Maya passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. That's when she noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It took a while for her to understand what this meant. She read the note aloud several times before she finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password she typed into the device? Here's how it works. Maya had to type 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Reading it aloud was the key to solve this problem. Whew!
Loki is hiking in a enchanted forest. Suddenly, he gets into a magic trap. A wicked wizard, whose name is Olaf, offers him a deal. I'll set you free if you manage to crack all my riddles. First of all, organize these objects in order of invention. Olaf shows Loki a wheel, a lighter, a vase, a bow, and a light bulb. Can you help him put them into the correct positions? The bow is the oldest invention. Then goes the wheel, the ancient Greek vase, and the light bulb. And finally, the lighter. Next, Olaf shows Loki 2 pictures of his favorite fairy. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. The next task for Loki is to guess a word. Even when it passes in front of the sun, it doesn't cast a shadow. What is it? Wind. Olaf shows Loki a table with magic potions and ingredients. He marked all the ingredients with the colors that they create when added to the potion. Loki has to guess which ingredients were not used in these 3 potions. Can you help him? We need red and yellow for the orange potion. For the blue one, dark blue and white. And for the dark green potion, we need green and black. So the extra ingredient is the pink one.
Yeah!
Loki cracks the riddle, and Olaf asks the next question. What stones will you never find in a river? Do you have any clue? Dry stones. The next task for Loki is to serve the wizard's girlfriends. Roxanne says, I don't want my cocktail to have any yellow fruits or berries. Sabrina says, I want my drink to have an ingredient that starts from the first letter of my name. And Cassandra says, I don't want any green or red ingredients in my drink. There are 3 cocktails in the fridge at the moment. Can you help Loki distribute the drinks among the ladies? The second cocktail is yellow, so it doesn't have anything red or green. It's for Roxanne. The first one is for Sabrina, because it has strawberries. And the third drink is a blueberry milkshake, so it fits Roxanne's order.
Oh, yeah.
Olaf is satisfied with Loki's intelligence, and he offers him a job.
Yeah!
Loki agrees and becomes the wizard's assistant.
Yeah!
His first task is to clean the kitchen.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Olaf goes into the woods to collect some herbs. He comes across a toxic swamp and immediately gets sick. He needs a special potion. So Olaf sends Loki a letter with his crow. I need your help. Here are several recipes. Don't go anywhere. Prepare 1 potion and send it to me with the crow. Which potion should Loki make? Can you help him? Olaf says that Loki shouldn't go out, which means he can only use the ingredients that they have in the house. So Loki can't cook the first and the third potion. As for the second one, all the necessary ingredients are in her kitchen. Olaf gets better, but he still needs to stay in bed. So he sends Loki to the pet shop. The task is to buy a new cat. Olaf wants it to look like the cat that lived with him before. It must have green eyes and a 1-color tail. Also, it shouldn't have any black wool. And it shouldn't be tabby. Can you help Loki find the right cat for Olaf? Only this cutie meets all the requirements. The next day, Olaf sends Loki to a wild beach to collect some rare magic seaweeds. Suddenly, Loki sees a group of beautiful ladies standing on the shore. He wants to approach. But the ladies notice Loki and begin to move in the opposite direction. Loki runs after them on the sand along the water, but he can't catch up. Then Loki looks around and realizes that he was chasing fairies. How did he know? Loki ran after those ladies on the sand. but he can only see his own footprints. The fairies were flying. Loki dives under the water to collect the seaweed. He sees a little mermaid there. Then he floats to the surface and dives again. Can you spot 3 differences under the sea? Here they are. Olaf's daughter, Salma, is a talented young witch. She likes getting into trouble. And this time, she was put in jail. Loki comes to the police station to rescue her. He pays bail, and the police officer is going to release Salma. One of these ladies is about to be free. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the photo in his hand. Salma has brown eyes, so he should release the second prisoner. Loki and Salma should go back to the wizard's house, but the enchanted forest has many unexpected surprises. There are 3 possible routes they can take. There's a fire-breathing dragon sleeping in the first passage. There's a young magician hanging out on the second road. He hates all women, and he turns them into stones every time he meets them. And the third road runs through a toxic lake. Breathing its vapor is fatal for any living being. Which way is more or less safe? The guys can take the second route. Salma isn't just a woman, she's a witch, so she can deflect the black magic. The guys keep on walking and see an amusement park. The owner is very upset. Someone has stolen many tickets from the register. Loki offers to investigate this case. First of all, he looks through the footage. He's sure that the thief is still in the park. He questions 3 suspects. Billy says, "I rode the carousel and I got very sick, so I wouldn't ride anything else, even for free." Miles says, "I'm celebrating my 17th birthday today. My friends and I rode the roller coaster 3 times, and now it's time to go home." And Jessica says, "I only visit the Ferris wheel. It's my favorite." Miles has tricked Loki. He's too young for the roller coaster. There's a sign. People under 18 years of age can't ride it. Loki and Salma continue on their way and find 3 apple trees. Salma wants to pick some apples for a magic punch, but only one of the trees is safe. Can you guess which one? All the footsteps are leading to the first tree, but not a single animal walked away from it, so it probably has some hidden danger. There are some creepy runes on the trunk of the second tree, so it's probably cursed. Therefore, they should choose the third tree. The guys are picking the apples and putting them in Salma's hat, and suddenly they meet someone very curious. Crack this rebus if you want to know who. A bear. The guys run away from the bear and hide in a cave. Luckily, Salma managed to collect 14 apples before the escape, because they met 7 hungry gnomes inside the cave. They demand payment for the shelter. How can Salma divide the fruits among the gnomes so that each gnome could get an equal amount of oranges? It's impossible because Salma doesn't have any oranges, only apples. Finally, Loki and Salma return to Olaf's house. Loki takes a look at the porch and says, "Wait a minute, something has changed since I last saw this porch. Look, I have a picture. Can you spot all the changes?" The runes at the door are now reflected. The plant from this pot is gone. The curtains have changed color, and the number of candles is different. Loki enters the house and finds Olaf unconscious on the floor. Someone put a sleeping spell on him and stole his magic tools. Loki interrogates 3 suspects among Olaf's neighbors. Cassandra says, "I just got home from a pumpkin festival. Everyone can verify my words." Ambrose says, "I've been retreating and meditating in my basement for a week. I have no idea who did it." And Roxane says, "It wasn't me, but I guess it was Cassandra. She's just jealous that Olaf decided to date me." Who did it? Take a closer look at the witch's cauldron in Ambrose's house. There's an engraving saying Olaf's property, so he's the thief.
Nathan sneaked out of the house late in the evening to meet with his girlfriend. The teenager thought he was extremely careful and quiet, but his whole family knew about his plan. They also knew that the guy would return at midnight. They decided to make a bet. The one who would see Nathan first when the guy started climbing the fence would be the winner. No chores for them for 1 week. Not to fall asleep, Nathan's dad switched on the TV. The guy's grandfather settled in the living room to read a book. The grandmother went to the kitchen to make pizza, and Nathan's mom went to her room, sat down on the floor, and started to meditate. Who's going to be the first to spot Nathan when the time comes? Nathan's mom. Her eyes will be used to the darkness, and she will see better than the others. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has 2 times fewer brothers than the sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 guys in the family. A jewelry store called the police. He shouted, "My store has been robbed!" When the officers arrived at the place, they couldn't see the man. Suddenly, they heard someone banging on the door, hidden in the corner. When they unlocked it, they saw a man. It was the manager. "Someone locked me in here. It must have been one of the shop assistants." The police officers asked the man to call his employees. They were going to question them. "Just a second, I can't find my phone. Ah, there it is." The manager didn't even start to dial the number when the officers arrested him. Why? If he was locked in the room while the phone was lying on the counter, how could he call the police? Oh, this situation doesn't look good. Which path would you choose? Walking over moving snakes? Yikes! These spiders with red crosses on their backs are highly venomous, so your best choice is to pick the 3rd path. These piranhas aren't very large, plus they won't be able to bite through your thick rubber flippers. There are 2 people standing near the river. A boat can carry only one of them, and still, both of them manage to get to the other bank. How come? These people were on different banks. How many bricks does it take to complete a building? Just 1. It'll be the last one. How can you make 7 an even number without subtraction, addition, multiplication, or division? Just drop the letter S. Scott, an infamous burglar, came home one evening. Just a day before, he had stolen some very expensive paintings from Mr. Smith's house. He was in the living room when he noticed several police officers approaching his home. Scott gave instructions to his wife and slipped out through the back door. When the officer knocked on the door, Scott's wife told them, "My husband has been away for a week already. He's actually supposed to come home today." At this moment, Scott entered the house. He hugged his wife as if they hadn't seen each other for ages. But the police officers didn't believe them. Why? Look at the dog. If its owner had been away for a week, the animal would be jumping around, happy and excited. But the animal saw Scott just a couple of minutes ago and isn't showing too much enthusiasm. Adam likes grapes, but not potatoes. He likes peas, but not onions, and eats squash, but not lettuce. Can you figure out the pattern and say whether Adam will eat apples or some pumpkin? Adam likes everything that grows on vines. He'll pick a pumpkin. All the people working in the offices, Janice, Brian, Teresa, Sean, and Roy, use the fridge in the kitchen to store their lunch. On Friday, Janice opened the fridge to get her bacon and cheese sandwich she'd brought from home, but it wasn't there. Someone had eaten her lunch. Who was it? It couldn't be Brian. There's a wet umbrella near his desk. He's just come in. Teresa is a vegan. Look at that poster over her desk saying Vegan Festival in Smiletown. So she doesn't eat either cheese or bacon. Roy is on a diet the starting date of which you can see in his calendar, and such a sandwich is by no means light food. This means Sean was the one who stole Janice's sandwich. Oliver was attacked in his flat and taken to the hospital. There are 4 suspects, all of them Oliver's neighbors. Amelia said she'd been walking in the park since early morning. Henry told the police he'd been painting in his studio and hadn't heard anything. Jacob said he'd been repairing his car. Sophia answered she'd been taking a bath for the past 3 hours. Look at these people's hands and try to figure out who's lying. It's a bit strange that Jacob, who was repairing his car, and Henry, who was painting, both have such clean hands. But they could have been wearing gloves. On the other hand, Sophia's hands and fingers don't have wrinkles. But it would be a natural skin reaction after 3 hours in a bathtub. Carl, an heir to a giant fortune, was found unconscious during a loud party. His sister Sarah stumbled across him in the bathroom. The guy was lying on the floor. Sarah immediately called the ambulance and the police. Carl was taken to a hospital. Doctors saved his life, but the guy was still unconscious. He couldn't talk. When the police questioned Sarah, she told them that her brother had felt unwell. He went to the bathroom to freshen up. After some time, she heard some noise and went to check on him. Carl must have slipped and hit his head on the sink. After the police heard this story, the sister got arrested right away.
Oh no!
Why? For one thing, it happened during a loud party. How could the girl hear any suspicious noise? But most importantly, Carl was also lying too far away from the sink, which was on the other side of the bathroom. Look at this picture. Can you figure out who this kid's mom is? It's the woman on the left. She has 2 juice boxes on the bench next to her. Detective Lee was called to a small family cafe. The owner told him her story. I went away to the kitchen for a couple of minutes, but when I came back, I saw that all the money from the cash desk had been stolen.
Oh no!
At that time, there were only 3 visitors in the cafe. All of them were women. When the detective asked them who had taken the money, each of them exclaimed, "It was her!" The first woman added, "The owner is my friend. How could I do this to her?" The second woman said, "I was looking out of the window, drinking my coffee. I didn't see anything." And the third woman claimed she would never steal anything. Who took the money? Detective Lee quickly figured out that the thief was the second woman. First of all, the two others pointed at her. Secondly, she claimed that the first woman had stolen the money. But if she had been looking out the window, how could she know this? Someone stole several expensive t-shirts from a designer clothing store. The manager told the security guard he had half an hour to find the thief.
If you don't make it in time, you'll be fired.
The guard rushed to watch the CCTV footage. Luckily, he managed to figure out who the thief was before his time ran out. And do you know who it was? It's the man in the dark blue sweater. His belly miraculously became larger after he spent some time in the store. He must be hiding the t-shirts under his sweater. One clothing store owner invented a curious method of pricing his goods. Socks cost $25, a vest $20, a tie $15, and a t-shirt had a price of $30. Following this method, how much would a pair of underwear cost? $45. The shop owner charged $5 for each letter of the item's name.
Hey, I've got a couple of riddles for you today, but those are hard, so start your brain engine and let's go. There was once a magical forest inhabited by elves and gnomes. Since they didn't get along very well, they lived in two different parts of the forest to avoid all conflict. One day, centaurs invaded the forest and elves and gnomes were forced out, running in different directions. Let's follow a small group of 6 creatures, 3 elves and 3 gnomes. They ran west, but unfortunately, they stumbled across a lake. None of them could swim, but luckily, there was a raft. The raft could only carry 2 creatures at once, 2 elves, 2 gnomes, or 1 elf and 1 gnome. So you need to figure out a way for all of them to cross the lake safely. Now, here's the problem. If there are more gnomes on one side than elves, they will attack them. Even if an elf is on the raft, but not in the part of the lake where there are more gnomes than elves, it's still not safe. Can you figure out a way for them all to cross the lake safely? Okay, so here are 5 possible first steps. 1 elf crosses the lake, or 1 gnome, or 2 elves, 2 gnomes, or 1 elf and 1 gnome. But it doesn't make any sense to cross the lake alone since they need to send the raft back somehow. So those 2 options are out. 2 elves can't cross the lake together because then the 3rd elf will be left alone with 3 gnomes and they will attack him. So it's either 2 gnomes crossing the lake first or an elf and a gnome. So let's go with the 2 gnomes. So 2 of them cross the lake and of course 1 of them has to come back. Now what? 2 elves can't leave together because the 3rd one is in danger. If an elf and a gnome leave together, then the one who is leaving will be in danger as soon as they cross the river. So 2 more gnomes leave together, and then 1 comes back. An elf and a gnome can't leave together because then there will be 3 gnomes and 1 elf on the other side. So this time, 2 elves cross the lake together. Who comes back? Not an elf, because the other one can't be left alone there. A gnome can't go back alone. Otherwise, there will be 2 gnomes and 1 elf on the first shore. So, a plot twist. An elf and a gnome come back together. Now, 2 gnomes can't cross the lake. An elf and a gnome can't go either. So, the 2 remaining elves go to the other shore together. None of them can now return since there are 2 gnomes left on that shore. So, a gnome will return to pick up one of his buddies. Then another gnome will go to pick up the last gnome. But it's not the only solution. You could also succeed by sending a gnome and an elf together as a first move. Here's a graph of how it would play out. But remember, no matter how far you travel, there's no place like Gnome. Okay, great job! Now it's time for the second riddle, and this one comes from Esme. This girl often goes for a walk in a forest and typically gets lost. This time, though, she doesn't get lost. Here's her way home, but she's tempted to go visit her old friend, a witch, who lives in that forest. Esme has an amazing riddle, and it's pretty hard, so she thinks she has a good chance of winning the witch's cat. So, Esme goes to the witch's house and offers the following. I bet you can't solve my riddle. If I'm right, your cat will go home with me. The witch believes she can solve any riddle, so she takes that risk. Esme puts a big acute triangle on the table. Here, you can make 7 cuts to make this triangle disappear. Every piece you cut off that is an acute triangle will disappear. But if a triangle has an angle that is right or obtuse, that piece will stay. Once again, 7 cuts, and you have to make the whole triangle disappear. Not a single smallest piece can be left. So, how can the witch do that and keep her cat? Whenever you make a cut, it'll either produce 2 right angles or an acute and obtuse angle. The witch seems to be doomed, but then she looks at the pizza she hasn't finished. When you cut into more than 4 pieces, all angles are acute. The problem is that a pizza is round, and we're dealing with a triangle. Still, the trick also works with other shapes, like hexagons and pentagons. Good for the witch, she can make a pentagon out of this acute triangle by making just 2 cuts. The small cut-off triangles are acute, and they disappear. Now, the witch needs to deal with the pentagon like she does with a pizza. Cut it into 5 pieces using the last 5 cuts. That's a success story. Hey, we know you like the cat, Esme, but maybe get one of your own. Okay, do you think you can crack another one? I promise it's the last one for today, and it's quite fun. No more geometry. Here's how the story goes. 1,000 years ago, 6 siblings founded a magical school. Ingram, Regalia, and Corona are witches, and Agnard, Ardumo, and Modnar are wizards. A pair of siblings found a house each, and the names of those houses are Rymeth, Madlo, and Damora. All 6 of them also founded the 4th house, named after their 7th sibling who went missing when they were young. You are invited to study in the magical school, but as you arrive, you have to be sorted into your house. You have to put your hand on the sorting book and wait for its decision to light up on the cover. When you do it, the book sees potential in you. So instead of sorting you into one of the 3 houses right away, it gives you an opportunity to get into the 4th house, where the most gifted young magicians go. To prove that you're good enough to be sorted into that house, you have to solve the sorting riddle. The task is to guess the name of the special house, which no one but its students knows. But you have some guidelines that can serve as hints. First, you have to find out who founded which house. Here are some statements. Every house was founded by a brother and a sister. Corona and Regula found Rymeth and Madlo, but not necessarily in this order. Ingram and Ardumo founded Madlo and Damora, but not necessarily in this order. Agnard and Regala founded the same house. Now, after you figure it out, the next step is to guess the name of the secret house. To find it out, find what all siblings have in common. So, are you gifted enough to get sorted into that special house? First, you have to find out who founded which house. So, the pair is always a brother and sister. Let's look at conditions 2 and 3. Each of them mention Madlo. Both Corona and Regala are sisters, which means that no matter who founded Madlo, it already has a sister founder. Therefore, Ingram, who is also a witch, couldn't have founded this house, which means that Madlo was founded by Ardumo, so Ingram founded Damora. Agnard founded the same house with Regala, so it was Modnor who founded Damora with Ingram. Therefore, it only leaves us with Rymeth for Agnar and Regala. Finally, Corona founded Madlo. Okay, great. Now we have to figure out the name of the 5th house. What did the siblings have in common? Of course, all of them have the letter R in their names. Let's put them in the order of appearance of the letter in their names, starting with Regala. Under each of their names, Let's put the name of the house they found it. Now, the respective letters under each R form the name Radota. That's the name of their missing sister, and that's what the fourth house is called. So, pal, if you figured it out, congratulations, and welcome home.
Today, I only have 2 riddles for you, but it means that you're not going to crack them easily. Prepared? Here's the first one. Far, far away from any civilization, there is a remote island with 20 inhabitants. They were born there, and all their lives they've been into math, which helped them become pretty perfect logicians. Unfortunately, they're imprisoned, being trained to win the Nobel Prize, and they can't leave the island. Well, actually, there's a way. Each islander can approach a guard at night and ask to leave the island. If the islander who asked to leave has green eyes, they will be allowed to leave. If not, they'll be tossed into the island's volcano instead. So, obviously, no one takes the risk because none of them knows their eye color. The thing is that all of them actually have green eyes, so each one could theoretically leave, but, well, none did. They don't have any reflective surfaces, they're mute, and they're not allowed to communicate with each other in any way. The only time they all see each other is during the lineup every morning. One day, I got the privilege to travel to the island and present myself during the lineup. I could make an announcement, but there was one strict rule. I couldn't tell them any new information unless I wanted to be thrown into a volcano. But I really wanted to help those guys out, so here's what I said. At least one of you has green eyes. How many days will it take all of them to leave the island after my announcement? Okay, maybe 20 is a bit hard to figure out right away. So let's first consider the case of 2 islanders, Etta and Phi. Both of them have green eyes, but they don't know their eye color. So the day when I announce the statement, they pay attention to it and look at each other, remembering the eye color. Etta sees that Phi has green eyes, which aligns with my statement, but she can't be sure that she has green eyes too. Phi does the same. She sees Etta's green eye color, but he isn't sure about his own eye color. So, the night comes and none of them leaves. When they both see each other the next day, they realize something. Etta realizes that if Phi had seen that she didn't have green eyes, he would have understood that the one person with green eyes was him and would have left the island that night. But he didn't do it. So, Etta realizes that Phi saw her green eyes and wasn't sure about his eye color. So her eyes must be green. Phi has the very same logic and figures out that he has green eyes too. So, now they both know it, and the second night, they both leave. In the case of the 2 islanders, they both left the second night. Now, let's say there are 3 people on the island, Etta, Phi, and Theta. Each of them sees 2 green-eyed people, but they still can't be sure about their own eye color. So, no one leaves the first night. In the morning, they see each other again, but unfortunately, none of them are sure again. Theta thinks that possibly her eyes aren't green, and Etta and Phi were watching each other. She figures that now they will both see that none of them left and will leave the next night. Each one of the 3 thinks so, and once again, no one leaves. The second night passes, and the 3 islanders meet the third morning. So, Theta is now sure that Etta and Phi weren't just watching each other, but her too. So she must have green eyes. Etta and Phi, who were following the same logic all the way, realize the same thing. So all of them figure that they have green eyes and leave on the third night. Now, if I add another islander, the same logic will work, and it'll take one more night to figure it out. In our case, there are 20 islanders. They will all see 19 green-eyed islanders and will all wonder if others see 18 or 19 green-eyed islanders. So they will watch each other for 19 nights, and when they see each other on the 20th morning, they will all leave on the 20th night after that. Okay, great job. Here's the second riddle. This one is much easier in my opinion, so I'll give you a little break. But you still need to keep your brains turned on. You take a voyage across a sea. delivering fish tanks with rare species of fish to scientists who will work on increasing the population of that said fish species. But on your way, you get into a storm, and the fish tanks get drowned in the sea. The records get lost too, so you're not even sure how many fish tanks there were to start with. Still, you must find them all. Good news, there's a rescue submarine you can use, but there's only enough fuel for one trip to the bottom of the ocean. So, before going down, you make some inspections. Thermal imaging detects 50 organisms in the areas where you have lost the fish tanks. Those are your fish and sharks, which are not yours. Using a scanner, you scan 3 regions of the sea more closely: Region A, Region B, and Region C. The scanner shows that in Sector A, there are 4 fish tanks and 2 sharks. In Region B, there are 2 fish tanks and 4 sharks. Just as you're about to scan Region C, the scanner breaks down and doesn't show you anything. So, you need to figure out how many fish tanks there are to send to the submarine. This is not an easy task, especially with lost records. You don't know exactly how many fish tanks were on board, but you remember that there were no more than 13 of them. You also don't know how many fish there are in each fish tank, but you know that it's the same amount in each one of them. There's also information that in every sector there's a different amount of sharks, and not more than 7 in each one of them. Knowing all this, can you figure out how many fish tanks drowned in Sector C? The best way to solve this kind of problem is by using a table. So, we know that there are 13 fish tanks at most. 6 of them were located in Sectors A and B, so there are between 6 to 13 fish tanks in total. Can't be more, can't be less, since we already have 6. Now, let's move on to the sharks. In each sector, there are no more than 7 sharks. Also, there's never the same amount of sharks in 2 regions. Since regions A and B have 2 and 4 sharks, the possible number of sharks in region C is 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Let's put these numbers in the rows. In a column next to it, we put 6 in each row. That's the number of sharks in regions A and B. Now we know that there were 50 creatures located in the waters. So for each possible amount of sharks, we can calculate the remaining amount of fish. 43 in case of 6 sharks plus 1 in region C. 41 in case of 6 sharks plus 3 in region C. 39 in case there are 5 sharks in region C. 38 if there are 6 sharks there, and 37 fish in total if there are 7 sharks in the last region. Okay, now we have to remember that the number of fish is the same in every tank. So, the total amount of fish must be divisible by one of the possible values for the total amount of fish tanks. 43, 41, and 37 are prime numbers that aren't divisible at all. In case of 38, we'd need 19 tanks. 2 fish in each, but we know that the maximum number of fish tanks is 13. So the only possible scenario is 39 fish in 13 tanks, meaning 3 fish in each tank. So, in Region C, 7 more fish tanks got lost on the bottom of the sea. I hope you can find them all now.
Are you ready to train your brain with the help of these tricky brain teasers? Then let's get started. Look at these ladies and try to figure out who's not very smart. Even though the first woman looks as if she's about to touch a hot iron, the device is actually unplugged, so she won't hurt herself. The second lady, though, is about to touch a heated waffle maker. Oh no! John's parachute hasn't opened, and he's now plunging toward the ground. Does he have higher chances of survival if he falls into a lake or on a haystack? He should try to fall on a haystack. Do you see crocodiles hiding near the shore of the lake? What do you think is more dangerous in this situation? A bear or a swarm of bees? Look, the bear is about to run after its prey. It won't pay any attention to you. But bees seem to be angry. They'll most likely go after you. Look at these people. Who's most likely to survive? The man hanging over the fire? A woman tied over a barrel filled with toxic liquid? Or this guy swinging over a field of sharp needles? The woman hanging over the barrel with toxic liquid is the one who will survive. Look, there's a hole in the barrel, and the liquid is leaking out of it. The woman just needs to wait until the barrel is empty and untie herself. To get out of the locked room, Jeremy had to crack this puzzle. 1 equals 5, 2 equals 15, 3 equals 215, 4 equals 3215, 4 equals 3215, 5 equals… What number is hidden under the question mark? It's 1. 5 equals 1 because 1 equals 5. But the door of the room still didn't open. Apparently, Jeremy had to solve another riddle. He had to arrange 4 9s in such a way that they were equal to 100. He could use any math symbols. How can the guy do it? Jeremy figured out the correct answer pretty fast. 99 plus 9 divided by 9 equals 100. You're crossing a railroad bridge when you spot a train coming toward you. The bridge is built over a lake swarming with crocodiles, so jumping into the water is out of the question. How can you survive in this situation? You're farther away from the shore you came from and won't have enough time to get back to that side. So your only option is to run toward the train really fast and turn left or right when you cross the bridge. Jack is taking part in a challenge. He's reached the final stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. There are 4 pots in front of him. In each of them, there's a key. Jack needs to get any key from any pot. But on top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl, covering the fourth pot. Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put the fire out with sand. He's in the desert after all, and get the key. David's company develops apps for smartphones. Right now, he's looking for a designer. He's got hundreds of resumes, but he's chosen just 3 of them. Angela's resume says, "I'm 23 years old, I don't have a lot of experience, but I'm a fast learner and have already designed similar applications." Helen wrote in her resume, "I'm 26 and have 4 years of work experience. You should hire me because I've created lots of TikTok stories that have gone viral." And Eric's resume claims he's 28 years old with 7 years of work experience. He's designed tons of apps and he's been working for Google since the company was launched. David can only hire 1 person, but it's okay because 1 applicant hasn't lied in their resume. Who is it? Eric has just 7 years of work experience, but Google was officially launched in 1998. There are no stories on TikTok, meaning Helen couldn't create them. David hired Angela. Even though she hasn't been working for a long time, she's honest and has a nice portfolio. 3 friends agreed to hang out together on Friday night. One of them, Brian, was tasked with bringing pizza. But the guy was running extremely late. His friends were starving. Strangely, Brian wasn't picking up their calls. But in an hour or so, he sent them a selfie. In the photo, he was standing next to his car. In the following message, he wrote he had run out of gas. He was at a gas station, tanking his car up. But his friends didn't believe Brian's excuses. Why? In the picture, it's clearly seen that the guy has got an electric car. It doesn't need gas. Mark told his wife he was going on a business trip to Canada and asked her to pack his bag for him. It was winter, so his wife packed a pair of very warm socks, a scarf, and a knitted hat for Mark. When Mark came back, he said that his business trip was successful. Then he asked his wife why she hadn't put his toothbrush and toothpaste in his suitcase. The woman immediately understood that her husband was lying about going on a business trip. How did she figure it out? She put his toothbrush and toothpaste under the scarf, hat, and warm socks. If he didn't take them out of his bag, it probably wasn't very cold outside, which means that, most likely, he was not in Canada. 1 out of 9 identical balls is heavier than the others. How can you figure out which one it is after just 2 weighings? You need to divide all the balls into 3 groups and weigh 2 of them. That's how you can figure out which group contains the heavy ball. After that, you should pick 2 balls from the heaviest group. Weigh one against the other, and you'll understand which ball of the 3 is the heaviest. There was a blackout in the city, but the bus driver still noticed a dog on the road and managed to stop in time and avoid hitting the animal. How did he do this? This accident happened during the day. You have 6 glasses standing in a row on the table. The first 3 of them are filled with water, and the other 3 are empty. You need to move just 1 glass to arrange them in such a way that full and empty glasses alternate. How can you do it? Just pick up glass number 2 and pour the water into glass number 5. You enter a room and see that there's nothing inside but a blackboard on the wall. There are 4 words written on it: pin, check, boiling, view. You have to figure out a 5-letter word that can be added to each of them to make an existing word or word combination. Have you realized that the necessary word is point? Then you'll get pinpoint, checkpoint, boiling point, and viewpoint. Now, you're in a strange building that looks like a planetarium. There are photos of distant stars on the walls. In the middle, there's a screen with a riddle on it. NEUSRNERSTH question mark. You have to figure out what is hiding under the question mark. If you've realized that the correct answer is RY, congratulations! The list is made up of the last 2 letters of the names of the planets of the solar system, in the order from Neptune to Mercury, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury. 2 daughters and 2 mothers went out to a cafe. Each of them ate a slice of pizza, but strangely, only 3 slices were eaten. How come? These ladies are a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. 2 of them are moms, and 2 are daughters.
It's the holiday season, but some evil force is doing its best to spoil the mood. No one knows what this force is or why it's ruining the holidays. That's when Detective Robinson comes into play. Help him crack these riddles to save the day. The first task brings the detective to the North Pole. Someone has been stealing Santa's cookies, which he keeps in the reindeer stables. Santa suspects that the criminal is one of his elves who works there. But he's also worried because all of them are allergic to chocolate, and the disappearing cookies are chocolate chip ones. Detective Robinson gathers all the elves in one room. One of them keeps sticking out his tongue and then blushing and apologizing. The second elf has traces of something brown on his hands. And the third elf keeps smiling and giggling. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which one is the thief. The guy with the brownish spots on his fingers works in the stables, so no wonder his hands are dirty. Elves are cheerful creatures, which means that a smiling and giggling elf is not actually an unusual occurrence. But the first elf, his tongue is likely swollen as a result of an allergic reaction. Here's our cookie thief. 3 teenagers sneak into Santa's home. When he comes home after work, he sees 3 guilty-looking kids and his 20-foot-tall plastic Christmas tree lying on the floor. Santa knows that one of the kids must have climbed the tree, which made it fall over. He calls our detective. Chris immediately arrives. After looking at the kids attentively, he tells Santa who is guilty. Can you figure it out too? This guy with green hair looks as if he has some Christmas tree needles in his hair. But don't forget that the tree is plastic and can't lose any needles. The guy on the left has a star on his sweater that looks like the one at the top of the tree. But look, it's embroidered. Now, look at this girl with a pretty sparkly scarf. It looks suspiciously similar to tinsel decorating the Christmas tree. That's because it is tinsel. Busted! While the detective and Santa are away, solving the mystery of the overturned Christmas tree, someone steals all the presents from Santa's warehouse. After investigating the case, Detective Robinson has 3 suspects. All of them are elves. Each of the elves claims he was at home when the crime happened. The road is impossible to navigate on foot since it's been snowing for the last several hours. So, whoever did this had to use a sleigh. Can you help Chris figure out who the criminal is? This elf looks pretty angry, but it might be because his sleigh is broken. It means he couldn't have left his home. The sleigh of the elf on the right is covered with a thick layer of snow. It's unlikely that he used it recently. But look at the sleigh of the elf in the middle. There's snow under it. It means that the sleigh was parked near the house after the snow had already started falling. The elf wasn't at home, so why is he lying? One of Santa's elves put the key to the warehouse where Santa keeps presents into an empty bottle and plugged it with a cork. Detective Robinson needs to remove the key without breaking the bottle or pulling out the cork. How can he do it? Chris pushed the cork inside the bottle and shook the key out. Detective Robinson's next task is unusual to say the least. He needs to go to a haunted gingerbread mansion and face one of 3 horrifying monsters. They've taken up residence in the tasty but currently unapproachable house. Chris's potential opponents are 1. A 7-foot-tall reanimated Christmas turkey. It's threatening the detective with knives and looks extremely unfriendly. 2. A scorching hot eggnog monster that looks like a moving pile of slime. 3. Or a menacing-looking 8-foot-tall candy cane creature with long, sharp limbs? Help the detective make the right choice. The turkey can be very dangerous with those knives. The candy cane monster's limbs are too sharp to come close to it. As for eggnog, besides being very hot, it doesn't pose any serious danger. The detective just needs to push the monster towards the gingerbread wall and it will absorb the creature very fast. Santa has an unusual problem. One of his elves has just had his birthday, but Santa can't remember how old he's turned. The elf doesn't want to make the task easier. He says,
The day before yesterday, I was 34. The next year, I'll be 37.
It sounds strange, but the elf hasn't made any mistakes in his calculations. Santa definitely needs Detective Robinson's help. The elf's birthday is on December 31st, and he's talking about it with Santa on January 1st. The day before his birthday, he was 34. The next day, he turned 35. A new year started the next day. This year, he's going to turn 36, and he will be 37 the following year. No day without an accident. One young elf decided to play a prank on Santa and hid the presents behind one of these two doors. Detective Robinson knows that one of the doors hides a very unfriendly dragon, and behind the other, there are presents. He needs to pick the right door, otherwise the holiday is spoiled. There are two signs on the doors. One of them is a lie, and the other is true. On the first door, it's written, "The presents are here. The dragon is in the next room." The other sign says, "The presents and the dragon aren't in the same room." Can you help the detective figure out where the presents are? The presents are in the second room. The second statement is true, which means that the first one is false. After a long working day, Santa comes home and finds out that someone has broken all the glass decorations on his Christmas tree. He's shocked and upset. He calls Detective Robinson and tells him he has two suspects. One of them is one of his reindeer. Santa saw him near his house 2 hours ago. The other suspect is an elf Santa scolded. Look at the scene and help the detective determine the criminal. Look at the footprints the criminal left on the floor. They're too big and don't belong either to the deer or the elf. They actually look like they belong to Santa himself. But why would he need to frame his workers? This case makes Detective Robinson very suspicious. He starts observing Santa. Soon, Santa invites him for dinner and offers him 3 dishes to choose from. Since Chris is already wary of Santa, he examines the dishes very attentively. Look at them and say which dish is safe to eat. These chocolate chip cookies look fine until you notice that these chocolate chips are actually bugs. The steam rising over this bowl of soup is suspiciously green. This dish is likely poisoned. The only safe option is apples. Look at this tiny worm. If it can munch through the apple, it's most likely okay to eat. So, does it mean Santa wanted to get rid of Chris after the detective started to suspect something? This Santa can't be the real one. After Detective Robinson finds out that the mysterious evil force spoiling the holidays has been the fake Santa all along, he starts searching for the real Santa. Soon, he comes across a basement with 3 doors. Behind each of them, there's a man dressed as Santa and claiming to be the real one. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which Santa is real. It's Santa on the left! Hopefully you paid attention to the photo on the wall. It depicts Santa with his reindeer. If we compare the photo with all Santas, only the one on the left is absolutely the same. Allison has 2 coins which total 35 cents. If one of the coins isn't a dime, what are the 2 coins Allison has? Well, one is not a dime, but the other one is a dime, so Allison has a quarter and a dime. Let's start with a couple of simple teasers to warm up your brain for today's challenge. The day before yesterday was the 17th. What is the day after tomorrow? If the day before yesterday was the 17th, it means that today is the 19th. So the day after tomorrow is the 21st. Wendy's birthday was yesterday. She turned 16 years old. Yet, she's turning 17 this year. How is it possible? Wendy's birthday must be December 31st, and today must be January 1st, already the new year. A family is on vacation, carelessly chilling at the beach all day long. They were drinking their iced cocktails when suddenly, the youngest daughter, Odette, asked, "What day of the week is today?" No one knew. The father said, "I only know what tomorrow is, neither Thursday nor Friday." The mother said, "And I'm sure that yesterday wasn't Saturday or Sunday." And Adele, an older sister, said, "Today is definitely not Friday, not a Monday, and not a Tuesday." What day is today? Let's cross out all the impossible days. From Dad, we know that it's not Wednesday and not a Thursday. From Mom, we know that Sunday and Monday are also out. Adele said no to Tuesday and Friday, so it's a Saturday. Avery walked into a room and there were several doors there. On the first door, there was a sign saying, "Lion's Den." On the second door, there was a sign saying, "Mountaintop." On the third door, there was a sign with just a question mark. Still, Avery knew exactly where the third door was leading. Do you? The third door is the door Avery walked through, so it led back there. Once upon a time, there was a happy family living in a house in the shape of a dome. There was a mother, a father, their daughter, a chef, a maid, and a puppy named Oliver. One day, mother and father came back home and found out that Oliver had gone missing. They asked who was the last one to walk him, but everyone denied it. The daughter said, "I was reading." The maid said, "I was dusting the corners in the house." The chef said, "I was baking an apple pie." Who is responsible for Oliver's disappearance? The maid. There's no corners in a dome-shaped house. Mrs. Lawrence has 3 daughters, Ava, Bethany, and Chloe. She's about to have another girl. What do you think she'll name her? Riley, Daphne, or Ava? Mrs. Lawrence seems to follow the alphabet, so I bet she'll name her 4th daughter Daphne. In the middle of a pond, there's a little island, and there's a butterfly sitting on a rock. If it swims north, it's 2 minutes to the mainland. If it swims east, it's 3 minutes to the mainland. If it swims south, it's 1 minute to the mainland. If it swims west, it's 5 minutes to the mainland. Which way should it swim? It shouldn't swim either way. Butterflies fly. Once upon a time, an evil witch kidnapped 3 women and turned them into rose bushes. One of the women begged the witch to see her husband before she left him forever. The witch agreed. She took the woman home for the night and returned her to her rosebush state the next morning. The woman had warned her husband, and the husband was following them to rescue his wife. Look at these 3 identical rose bushes. Which one is his wife? The rosebush that was his wife doesn't have any of the night's dew on the leaves. A married couple went on vacation. They locked up their house and gave the keys to a neighbor, along with instructions on what to control and maintain in the house. Just in case, the wife hid her jewelry in a safe place. While they were on vacation, there was a power outage in the house. There was no electricity for a couple of days, until the neighbor came back to check the house. The neighbor cleaned everything up by the time the couple got back. The wife couldn't find her jewelry. The neighbor swore that he didn't touch it. Where did the jewelry go? The wife hid them in a freezer. After the power outage, everything melted and the neighbor threw out all the food and jewelry as well by mistake. Now, a tricky question for you. What is the difference between electricity and lighting? You have to pay for electricity. Anna is bilingual. She speaks English and German. She had 4 exams to write: English, math, history, and geography. She wasn't prepared for them well, so she wrote all of them in German. All teachers returned her tests because they couldn't understand anything and suggested she write the test on a different day, in English. Still, one teacher could understand what she had written and gave her an F. Which teacher was it? It's the math teacher. Mathematics is all numbers, and they're the same in most languages, so the teacher could understand everything and check the exam. It's an early Monday morning. William and Daniel are both driving to work. Who is not being smart? Daniel. He hasn't fastened his seatbelt. It's not safe. James and Delaney are getting ready for a big family barbecue in the evening. James is cooking and Delaney is busy with all the decorations. Who is not smart? James. He's cooking in the direct sun and there's milk standing right there. It'll go bad very fast. Riley and Tessa are doing house chores. Riley is vacuum cleaning the house and Tessa is outside shoveling the snow. Which one of them is in danger? Tessa, look, she's standing right below big icicles hanging off the roof. Every day, a woman was seen crossing the border carrying bags of sand on a motorbike. After some time, the border police got suspicious and stopped her. But they found she had only sand in those bags, so they let her go. What was the woman smuggling across the border? The answer is right in front of their nose. She's been smuggling motorbikes. Jonas lives on a farm. He just bought 7 horses. He's riding one of the horses, leading the rest to his farm. On the way, he's counting the horses he has, but he can only see 6. Problem, he paid for 7. He takes off, walks away, and counts the horses again. 7. Everything is correct. He hops up on a horse and keeps riding home. Midway, he's counting the horses again. 6. What do you think is his problem? Jonas always forgets to count the horse he's sitting on. Grace and Hope are twins, and they like to mess with people. Grace lies on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Hope lies on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. One day, you walk up to them and ask what day it is. Both of them say, "Yesterday was one of my lying days." Which day is it? It can't be a Sunday, because they both say the truth one Sunday, and someone is obviously lying now. So one of them is lying, and one of them is telling the truth. So it's either the first day Grace lies, or the first day Hope lies. so it's either Monday or Thursday. It can't be Monday because in this case, both would lie saying yesterday was a lying day. So it's Thursday. Grace is telling the truth and Hope is lying. Ben has an equal number of sisters and brothers, but each sister has twice more brothers as sisters. How many brothers and sisters are there in the family? There are 4 brothers and 3 sisters. So every boy has 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Every girl has 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Jack is in a cold cell. There's only ground under his feet. In the cell, there is one window, but it's impossible to escape through it. It's located too high above the floor. There are no stairs and no chairs, just a shovel. The man needs to get out of the cell as quickly as possible. He can't dig a tunnel and go deep underground, since the walls are really thick. Jack would get exhausted long before finishing digging his way to freedom. Can you guess the easiest way out of the cell? He needs to dig a large hole in the ground and use the dirt to make a small hill. He can then climb it and reach the window. Ava has been wandering through the desert for days. She's tired, thirsty, and hungry. Finally, she arrives at an oasis. Yes! But to get to it, she needs to choose one of 3 paths. At the entrance of the first path, there's a huge dragon with 2 heads. In the middle of the second path, there are hungry tigers. And the third path is swarming with thousands of scorpions. Which path should she choose? The first path. Dragons aren't real, so she'll be safe there. Jenny walks into a cafe and orders a cappuccino. Hello. The cashier tells her it's her lucky day. She'll give Jenny her cappuccino for free if she manages to answer a riddle correctly. Yes! The cashier says, there are 2 buckets filled with water all the way to the top. The buckets are of the same height, but the temperature of the water inside the first bucket is 25 degrees Celsius. While in the second bucket, it's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. If a person drops a coin in each bucket at the same time, which coin will hit the bottom of the bucket first? It takes Jenny a few minutes to answer the riddle, but she gets it right. Can you guess what she answered? She said that first, one of the coins would hit the bottom of the first bucket. It has to do with the state of the water in each bucket. At 25 degrees Celsius, water is liquid, while at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns into ice. Emily finally went to Paris. On her first day, she bought a baguette and some cheese and went to the park to have a picnic. She sat down and cut the baguette into 4 pieces. A random person next to her said, "Nice! Hey, it took you 12 seconds to do that." Can you figure out how long it would take Emily to cut the baguette into 8 pieces? It would take 28 seconds. Here's how it works. To cut a baguette into 4 pieces, she needs to make 3 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 3 cuts, it means that she makes 1 cut in 4 seconds. Now, if she wants to cut the baguette into 8 pieces, she'll need to make 7 cuts. So, 7 cuts, 4 seconds each, 28 seconds. Every Sunday, Mrs. Moore gives her 4 daughters some pocket money. Half of the entire amount goes to the eldest daughter, Brianna. The second sister, Amy, gets half of the amount Brianna gets. Kate gets 1/6 of the total amount. And the remaining $10 goes to the youngest daughter, Nikki. How much money does Mrs. Moore give to her daughters? Once again, Brianna gets half of the money. Amy gets half of the half, which means 1/4 of the original sum. And Kate gets 1/6. They are all some fraction of 12. So Brianna gets 6/12, Amy gets 3/12, and Kate gets 3/12. Together, this adds up to 11/12, which means that Nikki gets 1/12, which equals $10. The whole sum is 12/12, which is $120. Brianna gets $60. Amy receives $30. Kate is given $20. Hey, if I were Nikki, I would complain. Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to put the day's earnings in the safe and was shocked to find out that the money was gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it was one of her workers. She asked each of them what they'd been doing that day. Sloan, the sales manager, said she'd been looking for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had finished that week. Lily, the designer, said she'd been working, but she also admitted she hadn't really been productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he needed to steal Miss Taylor's money. 2 cars, blue and red, started traveling on the same highway at the same time. The blue car is going at a speed of 60 miles per hour, and the red car is going 40 miles per hour. However, after some time on the road, they come across each other at one point. How is this possible? Well, they're traveling in opposite directions, so eventually they would pass each other anyway. Carl was a rich man who had 2 grown-up sons, Ethan and Christian. They lived in a big mansion. One day, Carl noticed that his expensive ancient vase was missing. The only people who were at home the night before were his sons. He didn't want to involve the police, so he decided to interrogate the guys himself. He saw Ethan driving through the gates. He was back from his daily visit to the gym. The young man said that the night before, he'd been practicing guitar and hadn't noticed anything strange. Then, Carl met Christian near the pool. The guy told his father, "Now I understand. Yesterday, I saw Ethan putting a box in the back seat of his car. It must have been the vase." But Carl immediately realized it was Christian who had taken the vase. How did he know? Because Ethan drives a sports car. It only has 2 seats. He couldn't have put the box in the back seat. It means Christian is lying. A math teacher told his students about Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw just 1 line and turn 9 into 6. His only condition was that the students couldn't take their pens off the paper until the line was finished. Mark was the first one to complete the task. How did he do it? He drew the letter S in front of I, X, and got 6. There's a patch of magic grass in a field, and it doubles in size every day. If on day 1 it's just a patch of grass, on day 2 it's twice bigger, and so on. It'll take 10 days for the grass to cover the entire field. How long will it take the grass to cover half of the field? The patch of grass doubles in size every day, so on the 9th day, half of the field will be covered with it. In a kingdom far, far away, an old king lived. The king was worried he had no heirs to his throne. One day, he came up with an idea. He decided to give each child in his kingdom a seed. He promised to make the child who grew the most beautiful plant his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall green plants in their hands, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? It turned out that the king had given the children fake seeds. The girl turned out to be the only honest kid.